Check this out.
Your unofficial Rob Brown lockdown.
Represents being real. Yeah.
Sports manufactured locally for the Carolinas.
Lockdown.
This is the Rob Brown Show. Yeah. Raw only on
The Fan Upstate.
You know what? It is a good morning, ladies, gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Welcome in the Rob Brown Show's on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate Tuesday morning from Charlotte, North Carolina. This is the Fan Upstate. Happy Tuesday, my dudes and dudettes. I hope you are all exceptionally well. Hope you are just out there living your best life so far this morning. Hope that you are both rocking and rolling this AM. If you're one of those people that's got to be up and at 'em at 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm glad to be here with you. As is, I assume, though I haven't asked them yet, let's do so right now. Back in the network studio, holding down the fort, the guy in charge of quite literally everything. The Alpha and the Omega of the Fan Upstate, the Sultan of Sound, the Wizard of Wave, the Professor of Perfection, the Content Cash Cow himself, Alonzo's here as well. What up, Zoe?
Hey, I am, first of all, there he is. I hear that voice. There he is.
I feel a little better. I feel a little more confident this morning. I'll tell you why coming up in a minute, but keep going.
Also, a trip cam. There's a chair in the way.
Yeah, well, the thing is moved over. They slid it over a little bit, and they made it. Okay. Yeah, they made it more. It's more diagonal across the walkway. Is
that your chair though?
Yeah. So this is at our table. This was
so you can move it just a little.
Well, I can bring it a little bit closer to me. But they moved the bar thing. Like they moved the little thing.
Oh, there we go. That's good. That's good right there. Right. Yeah, that's good.
I can even slide that over a little bit more.
Yeah. I just we need trip cam up just in case.
For those of you that don't know what we're talking about, come to our stream, facebook.com/thefanupstate, YouTube, The Fan Upstate, The Rob Brown Show on Facebook or YouTube or Twitch. We have the stream up and live. Yesterday we noticed, I noticed before the show started, but I realized once the stream began, behind me, because I'm in the middle of Media Row, I'm in the radio pit, which is downstairs in the main lobby. And I'm on the kind of the outside row of radio station tables here in Radio Pit, Radio Row, whatever you want to call it. And behind me, they ran a power strip from the wall that comes into the pit to provide power to all the tables that are around me. Well, over the top of this power strip that they've run, they have put this black piece of vulcanized rubber that is a guard to keep people from stepping on or tripping over or unplugging this thing from the wall, which in the afternoons would take anywhere from 7 to 10 radio stations off the air immediately. And as funny as that would be, nobody in radio wants to deal with that. So they covered it up with this little black, I don't know what to call it. It's like a little black rubber dome that goes over the top of it. That's a little bit more sturdy than, covering it with electrical tape, which is what poor people in bands on stage do, me. And yesterday, this thing it took out everybody, all right? There were people tripping over this thing left and right, one after the next. And when we started the show, I realized that if I angled my camera the right way, that you would see not just my beautiful body in front of you on camera, but you would also watch everybody that had to try to step over or completely miss this thing and nearly wipe out. I will say this, so I was here yesterday until about 3:30. That is when the Florida State contingent, the last school to be featured yesterday, that is when their contingent wrapped up. And then I came back up here, went back to the hotel, rested up, did a little bit of work, got ready for today's show. Then I came back up here to sit in on the last hour of Wire to Wire with Cole Bryson and Diesel, so the three of us could kind of kick around ACC Media Days a little bit. And I was here until about 7:30, 7:45 last night, just kind of chatting it up with some of the other media folks that are here. And what I can say, Zoe, is probably saw about over the course of the day, which was from 4 a.m. yesterday till about 3:30, and then from about 6 p.m. till about 7:30. So sitting on about 12 hours, I was in this building yesterday. I saw, I'm estimating, about 40 people trip over that thing, but 0 of them went all the way to the ground, which makes me feel a little bit better about the lulls that were created by this floor rubber thing.
Yeah, we don't want to see anyone get hurt, but if they were to face plant, it would be live on stream. So, which
Correct.
you want to happen,
I mean, allegedly.
Yes. I've
Speaking
noticed
of-
a couple people pass by so far, and they're aware of it.
So far, so good. I mean, it's also
Yeah.
been here for a couple of days. Well, I mean, technically 2 nights and 1 day now. So
I did warn Diesel about it because I didn't want to see that beard must. I mean, if he face planted
dude,
that
he
thing,
trimmed the beard back. Let me
Yeah.
tell you what happened yesterday with these two fellas. All right, love Cole and Diesel, love them. They're my boys. See Money in the D Train, big fans. They walk in yesterday. So Jim Phillips was speaking at 1:00, the commissioner of the ACC. And I got like 3 different topics that all come off of this. But Jim Phillips was speaking. I went up there. I sat through the majority of the press conference from Jim Phillips. And we're going to talk about some of the comments that he made, the commissioner of the ACC, that he made yesterday in his press conference. And then I came back down to the table. Diesel and Cole texted me. They're like, we're here. We're in the press conference. I said, great, me too. Meet you downstairs at the table when it's over to get them set up, because it's a lot of the same equipment, but it's also a little bit of different equipment. I've got my own. They've got their own, and we just needed to make sure it was all copacetic. It was all working out great. So came back down here to meet at the table to make sure they were all set up and ready to run. And as I sat here at the table waiting for them, down the escalator come the on-air duo of C Money and the D Train, Cole and Diesel from Wire to Wire. First off, not only has Diesel, obviously, as you and I have commented on many times, he's a guy who's got to wear glasses now. Now, as a guy who's been wearing glasses for like 15 years now, I'm not in a spot to judge, but yesterday my dude came down and he's like me. So he has now matched the glasses to the shirts and the pants and the shoes. Like he is accessorized top to bottom, the glasses. And then right behind him, down the escalator, as if he was about to announce his candidacy for the presidency of the United States, comes Cole Bryson. In dress pants. Y'all, I've known Cole Bryson for 3.5 years now. First time I've seen that man in not basketball shorts wearing pants. Number 2, a collared, starched white dress shirt on top of the blue pants, and a seersucker blazer to carry the whole look.
no way, no way. He
There
went
you go.
blazer.
He went not just blazer, Lonzo. He went seersucker, starched, put together. He walked down the stairs, walked up to me, and I said, "I don't know who you're dressed more like a South Carolina car insurance salesman, or like me when I go out with the fiance." Because it's one of those two things.
See, to me, when you're describing it, I'm thinking high school athletic director. But that's just
That's fair too.
Yeah,
That's fair too. And very fitting for Cole Bryson. Obviously, Cole Bryson, I would argue, the lead authority for high school sports in the upstate of South Carolina. And boy, howdy, he had the fresh fade up and tight on the head. He had the hair, what's left of it. He had it all producted up and like nice and fashionable. Man, my dude showed up yesterday like he was a damn professional. Diesel trimmed the beard. It's like real tight to the face now, Lonzo. He got rid of all the extra scruff. Like it was
Right,
unbelievable. I'm like,
so-
we bring these boys out in public and it looks like they care.
I'm gonna have to have a talk with Cole though, so he wasn't wearing the station uniform.
I mean, I'm going to tell you right now,
That is required for remote activity.
if you made the starched white dress shirt and a seersucker jacket the station uniform, I'd be all on board for it. I'd be all on board for it.
Not me, because it would probably also require khakis, and we know how I feel.
No,
about that.
he on like blue dress pants. He looked very swanky, very swanky. Did his hair up and everything. Like got the fresh fade. got the trim, had the beard whiskers down tight. Like, he looked good.
I'll have to go
good.
check out the video
Yeah.
and also see if he does a lot of putting his hand on his chin.
All right, we got a lot we got to get to today on the show. I'm going to start with this, and I'm going to start with this for two reasons. The first reason I'm going to start with this is because there's nobody else down here, so I'm going to say the awkward stuff first. All right, let's just get it out of the way at 6 a.m. before the ACC staff.
Turn around, and make sure she's not back there taking pictures of you again. All right, you good?
Yeah, we're good. We're in the clear.
You're
We're in
good.
the clear. Number one. Yesterday, I got the opportunity after the show was over to do a pair of interviews. I got to do two interviews. The first interview that we did was with Kevin Jennings. Now, Kevin Jennings is quarterback, kinda, for SMU. Here's what I mean. They also brought Preston Stone. I got a chance to talk to Preston Stone. The Preston Stone interview I may run later on in the show. But the interesting thing as we talked to the players and coaches from SMU yesterday, and this is I'm gonna tell you right now, Alonzo, I alternate on the show between wearing my fan hat, not my station hat, but like the metaphorical fan cap we all put on when we are just being a fan of our team or a player or a coach or football or whatever. I'm going to put on my fan cap before I take it off and switch it back to my radio guy cap. As a fan cap, dude, I think I'm rooting against SMU this year. All right? I think I'm rooting against SMU. I think SMU might have joined the ranks of teams that, even though I have no connection to them at all, I'm rooting against them. We had yesterday on a side-by-side interview after the show went off the air. And it's another one that I'm like, maybe I'll run it, maybe I won't. I really haven't decided yet. We had Rhett Lashley, who is the coach, the head coach of the SMU Mustangs, the SMU Horsey Ponies, the brand new team to the conference. Now, if we have an athlete on and the athlete's like not a great interview, to me it's like whatever. All right, you get lucky, and sometimes you get great interviews out of athletes. And then other times you don't, because, you know, you're talking about 150 guys on a football team. Not all of them are going to be big-time extroverts like Lonzo, right? Like, not all of them are going to understand how to grab a microphone and immediately make radio history. It just doesn't work that way, okay? Right. It just doesn't work that way. So, to me, the Kevin Jennings interview we did, it was like the dude very clearly is here because he's a team leader. If you don't know much about SMU, last year they had their starter quarterback Preston Stone, who is back this year as the starter.
By the way, they went 11. I just looked it up. They went 11-3 last year.
Good team last year. Good team. Air raid offense under Preston Stone last year, but he also Preston Stone, their starting quarterback, he broke his leg last year. And so Kevin Jennings stepped in as quarterback, played 2 games, threw for like 650 yards and like 7 touchdowns or something. I mean, a good replacement quarterback, to the point that he and Preston Stone are going to be running a 2-quarterback system for SMU this year. Preston Stone will get the majority of the snaps, but Kevin Jennings will step in because Jennings is a little bit more of a runner, a little bit less technical as a passer than Preston Stone, whatever. Like, it is an interesting team that we are going to see in SMU. And Kevin Jennings, very nice guy, but just like you put the mic on him, and he's kind of one of these cats that, like, Lonzo was like real soft-spoken, real quiet, real short. He's like the opposite of me, right? Like, just completely the opposite. Hey, man, you know, you're going to be one of the guys leading SMU into battle. SMU gets the opportunity to enter a Power 4 conference. You come in after an 11-win season. Like, this team could be something this year. How do you feel about being on the inaugural ACC team, which is going to be a team that's going to be looked back historically? And Kevin was like, feels real good, which is fine. Like, that's his answer. Cool. I'm not going to bang him down on that. Then we got Rhett Lashley, the head coach of SMU. And in trying to describe Rhett Lashley, Nice enough guy, walks up to the table, shakes my hand, Coach Lashley. I don't know why it does. I don't know why it bothers me, Lonzo. It bothers me a lot when grown men command other grown men to call them coach. You know what I mean? Like, I don't mind calling a coach. I don't care. Like, I'll call him Coach Sweeney, Coach Beamer, whatever. That's all well and good. But I am not going to call you coach if you walk up to me and go, I'm Coach Rhett. You're not my coach, man. Like, you're a coach, and that's great, but you're not my coach. So I don't know why that kind of just put me off a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know why either.
Yeah.
I mean, it's his title.
Yeah.
I mean, I prefer to be called executive. So I get it.
Yes, but also you're like, I work with and for you, right? So that makes sense. You are my executive producer, right? It would be like,
No, I'm the executive producer.
All right, it'd be like this.
That's all right. All right, so I'm acting just like the guy, but I'm
are.
not because I'm the only one in the building with that title. I just want
Also,
you to,
I want you to know the ACC Media Days voice is going to come back because I just said you are, and I heard myself echo off the walls back.
Oh, I heard it. We all heard it.
Yeah,
it was
so
awesome.
Let's pull that back.
No, let's not pull that back. There ain't nobody there. I mean, come on.
There's
Do they have to?
3 other people doing a show here right now. So
Well,
I'm
good
not
for
on
them.
today.
Well, you just were on their show, and
I was.
their show got better
Yeah,
when you were on it.
So he walks up to me. He sits down. He's like, Coach Lashley. I'm like, I'm not going to call you coach. I'm really not. So then we're having the conversation. I don't know if that's disrespectful or not. I don't think it is. So we're having the conversation, and this guy may have set the record for the most coach speak cliches in one interview that I have done in my lifetime. I'll give you one example. I asked him, I said, hey, listen, it is no secret the history of SMU. It is no secret that the concept of the death penalty in college football, that's you guys. You're the only ones, arguably, that have ever been nailed with the death penalty. The NCAA utilized SMU as this is what can happen to you if you don't play by our rules example 4 years ago, whatever it was. I said SMU has had a 3-decade path to get back to power level football. And you were the guy in charge of the football program as it makes its debut in the ACC. What pressure do you feel, if any, as the head coach to make sure that the inaugural season in the Atlantic Coast Conference of a program that has spent 3 decades trying to recapture its former glory in power level football, how much pressure do you feel? And the answer I got was, we don't really think about that. We just come out here to win the game. All right, dude. I mean, if that's your genuine, legitimate answer, fine. Like, okay. I'm not the type of radio dude that gets upset because an interview subject doesn't give me the answer that I want. Give me what I want. I don't get mad when a radio interview subject doesn't say what I want him to say, how I want him to say it. And I don't even know that. Scratch that. I do know. I didn't have anything in particular that I wanted him to say, but I kind of thought if you're right now being celebrated on this campus, the guy that they trust to elevate your program when you have entered back into the world of Power 4 football, that, it would mean something to you, right? Like, oh, it means a lot to me. Or, yeah, I know that there's the eyes of history are on us. Basically, the best thing I got out of this cat in an 8-minute interview, great one, the best thing I got out of this cat was, well, we know that the other ACC schools are going to love coming down to Dallas because we've got great barbecue. That's the best I got. I mean, it's good.
Well, I mean, that's some personality right there.
I mean, I guess.
Also controversial in to say that in the Carolinas.
Yeah, and that was I didn't say that. I immediately wanted to be like, well, Coach, you're going to have some work to do to impress me because I got to tell you, Carolina barbecue's grown on me a lot.
Maybe you should have done that, and maybe you would have got a little something else out of them.
We get 7.5 to 8 minutes with these guys, and that was his walk off answer. So again, it's not that I feel that coaches have any responsibility to me or to us or to y'all to be characters or to inject any sort of energy or passion or gas into this. Like, they don't owe us anything as far as how they respond and what they say and yada, yada, yada. But I also kind of am like, I don't really need to run this interview. Like, he didn't say anything to me that really does anything for you guys or for us. And obviously, we're here to cover Clemson, okay? And coming up in the next segment, by the way, I have something relatively disparaging to say about Florida State. That'll be fun. We are here to cover Clemson, right? There's no bones about that. We know what we are. You know what we are. But to me, covering Clemson also includes covering the rest of the Southeastern Conference. And so when we get an opportunity to bring on programs, head coaches from programs, to come on and kind of give you guys a better feel about what this conference is going to be this year, I want to do it. But goodness, man, like, if we made another football story, another football movie about the poor, impoverished school that had to go across town and beat the rich white guy school, Rhett Lashley's the head coach of the bad guy school. Like, that's just what he is. Let's take a break. When we come back, let me tell you what Florida State did yesterday that honestly shocked me a little bit. And I don't really know how I feel about it. Lonzo and Rob and you, the Rob Brown Show's on your radio. It's the Fan Upstate.
Get your daily dose of sports opinions with us. This is the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
From the News Talk 98.9 WORD Weather Center.
I'm waiting for Rhett Lashley to come down behind you with a chair.
I'm gonna have to move this sign over to protect my back.
I would say with a name like that, the chair's coming.
Rhett Lashley is the most Dallas name since Colt McCoy.
You just went big time heel promo on the guy, so I mean, you know.
Not heel promo. It's
a promo. You're right. It's not necessarily.
That was, you know what that was? That was fan criticism about a boring wrestler. Is what that was. No pop. I'm like Roman to Seth. You hear that? No pop. Jonathan, Mike, what's up, fellas? Good morning. Can y'all hear me on the stream today? Are we good?
So I asked Diesel last night. It was like, thought you guys were going to go out and hang out with Rob. He's like, no, I'm going home.
Yeah, I thought they were too.
He said, no, I'm going home.
So I will say that.
That sounds like something I would say. Okay, so I appreciate it. Sorry, I'm going home.
I thought we were too. Even Cole was like, no, we're going to get on the road back. I'm like, all right. So and this was interesting too. So the old hotel, right? The hotel we were in last year. There is a rooftop bar on that hotel. And so they did, after every day, they did a reception upstairs, and you'd finish up, walk to the elevator, go to the top of the hotel, and there was a rooftop bar, and you go out there, and all the media members would go up there, and, you know, it was open bar every night, paid for by the ACC. Very nice. Appreciate that. So I go look at the schedule yesterday, and it's like, okay, there's a reception at a beer, like a craft beer joint, after the festivities conclude on opening day. Only
30 seconds.
And I'm like, all right, dope. So I go look it up. It's like a mile and a half away from the hotel, right? So, like, if you wanted to go this thing, you had to catch an Uber or one of those electric scooters or whatever. And so Cole and Diesel were like, hey, if it was here, we'd have gone up for one, but we're not driving a mile and a half to park again, get out, leave. You know, like,
thank you, April. April says the sound is good.
Good morning, April, and thank you very much. April is earning the title of Chief Sound Engineer on the stream.
That's busy work.
You guys know all the extra effort I had to go through to make sure the stream audio was good today?
All right, coming back.
I had to plug in one whole cord. I'm going to plug bass in this, man.
Could you?
Yeah, I'm doing it right now. Good rip. Welcome back to Rob Brown Show's on your live. It is live. It's Tuesday. Yeah, I was in this room for over 12 hours yesterday. All right.
By the way, you're going to hear some killer bass tonight.
And tomorrow night. From my guy, Brian Marshall. Do you know I went to high school with Brian Marshall, the bassist from Creed? Have I ever told you that before?
This is
think
why
I
I'm award winning. I set that whole thing up.
Yeah,
and,
you
I
did.
just, I shouldn't have to point that out, but I wanted to just because,
Well done.
I know.
Well done. Heat it up for me.
By
We're
the way,
live.
I dreamt last night I was pole vaulting again, so I have no idea what that means.
Wait. The weird part is not the dream. The weird part is that you ended that sentence with again.
I've told you before that I pole vaulted. You just, I mean, it just, you push that out of your mind because you think of me as my size now when I was smaller than you in high school and for part of my high school. And absolutely I pole vaulted because nobody else would do it.
Okay,
and
hang on. Wait.
we were the
No,
crazy
no, no.
white boys because
No.
they're the only ones crazy
It
enough
is-
to do it.
It is not that you pole vaulted. It is that you are having a recurring dream about pole vaulting.
It's not recurring.
You
but
just said I dreamed about pole vaulting again.
well,
That's recurring.
here, okay, all right. So it's not like it's happening every night, but any sport that I've ever done, sometimes I have dreams that I'm out there doing it again.
Okay.
I mean, it's dreams at night or dreams during the day. I mean, you always want to wish that you had one more game in you, one more, in this case, one more run in you. And yeah, and it's probably because the Olympics are starting Friday.
I'm very excited
And-
about that.
Yeah, and pole vaulting is one of my favorite things to watch because I actually understand it a little bit because I did it.
Fair enough.
And not everyone can say that. So,
I'll tell you what else not everyone.
by the way,
else
my
can say.
pole vaulting in my dreams last night was horrible. I just want you to know that.
Did you wake up in a sweat
Oh, I
and
missed
judge
that.
yourself for
I
missing?
missed the mat
Oh.
many times, which I did in real life once, and so maybe that's why I'm dreaming about it.
Do we have any therapists out there? We need to have a therapist live on the
No.
air to diagnose Lonzo.
Listen, that would be a series of shows.
Be a whole
Probably would work better on another station.
a whole episodic podcast. All right. Let me tell you what happened yesterday. Great one, and let me get your opinion on this because me, Cole, and Diesel all had 3 different takes on this. So yesterday we got our schedule of interviews. The ACC at the beginning of every day comes down and they email you a schedule and they say, okay, at this time you're going to have this head coach, and at this time you're going to have this player, and at this time you're going to have this player. And those are hard times, right? They are going to sit down at your chair at the minute they say they will, and at the minute they say that interview is over, the ACC guy will walk over and give you the cut sign, and he will cut off an answer from a player to have him stand up and move to the next table. They are on a schedule, Jack. And you learn that. You play by the rules. It as a radio host, it certainly tests your ability to make sure that you're running your interviews efficiently. So we got our schedule. And it was a little light on day one. We got Kevin Jennings, we got Rhett Lashley, and we got Brent Key of Georgia Tech. Now, what you'll notice is that on a day where the 3 teams being featured were SMU, Georgia Tech, and Florida State, you will realize there are no Florida State Seminoles players or coaches on the list that we received. And I thought, that is very interesting because we put in a request for the interviews that we would like. We requested Rhett Lashley. We requested Preston Stone. We requested some of these cats. And you get some of the ones you want, and you don't get some of the ones you want. So after the day started yesterday, all of our interviews were scheduled between the Rob Brown Show and Wire to Wire, and Brent Key was scheduled during Wire to Wire. So between the shows, Brandon McGinnis, who is the director of media relations for the ACC, and a fantastic dude. Brandon's a great guy. I worked with him the last couple of years, worked with him this year. Phenomenal dude, does an excellent job taking care of the media here. Brandon was walking around the media pit. I walked over, I shook his hand, I said hello. And after we talked for a minute, he said, I said, hey, we didn't get any Florida State guys on the schedule. Could I ask you to potentially add Mike Norvell? Because one of the things that happens is sometimes there's a scheduled radio hit and that station's not here, or not available, or that station will say, oh, something came up, we can't do the interview, whatever. And what Brandon's job then becomes is to take whoever the subject is for that interview and pair him up with the new station in that 8-minute slot, right? So it's, basically what you do is every 15, 20 minutes, you go check in with Brandon McGinnis and you say, hey, you got anybody for me, right? And he'll bring you somebody over if they do. So I walked over and I said, hey, there's no Florida State guys on our schedule. I'd love to get a Florida State guy on. Can I grab somebody? I'd love to have Norvell on. And Brandon McGinnis said to me, and right next to me there's a Lawton Swan, who you guys know. I know he was on with Mark Ryan quite a bit. Lawton Swan's next to me, and I'll go ahead and shout him out. Our direct competition's over to the right of me, right? And so I said, can we get a Florida State guy? And he goes, you can't. And I went, oh, booked up? And he goes, no. And I said, oh, that's very interesting then. Why not? And he said, Florida State directly requested no interviews with any Clemson stations. I said, excuse the bleep out of me? And he said, yeah. He said, don't take it personally. And he said, it was a business decision, but Florida State directly said, we will not do interviews with any Clemson stations. I said, wait. Like, just Clemson stations? He said, yeah. Well, Lawton Swan heard that. He was like, what? He walked over because he was doing a broadcast at the time. He paused his recording, got up, walked over. He said, did you just say Florida State's not doing interviews with Clemson stations? And he said, yeah, that's what I said. And we were like, what is happening here? Diesel and Cole confirmed the same thing later in the afternoon when they got here. And I found that very interesting because what we were not given, great one, was a reason why. We were not told why Florida State would do that. Now, there's only two reasons, right?
I just want to say I am immediately offended, but go ahead.
You are.
Because we're not a Clemson station.
Fair enough. In fact,
that's why I'm offended.
However,
and if we're labeled that everywhere, we're doing something wrong, and I'm gonna have to step up my campaign.
I do not think it is Clemson station so much as station that is within the Clemson footprint, and that we are. All right, you can't argue with geography. Now, I agree. We're not a Clemson station, just like we're not a South Carolina station, just like now we are a Carolina Panther station. That is what it is. But
we're a Furman station. We carry Furman. That's what we are. Yeah.
So what they meant was obviously within the geographical footprint. Because while we are not a Clemson station, obviously we are here to cover Clemson. And saying anything to the contrary is just incorrect. So there's only two reasons that they would make that decision. Reason number one is because of DJ Uiagalelei, right? Like they are trying. Now, for the record, DJ ain't here today. They didn't bring him. They didn't bring him with them, right? The DJ Uiagalelei said in an interview a couple of days ago that he was asked to come to ACC Media Days and then said that he wanted to allow the guys who were on last year's team who earned a playoff bid they never received to come here and represent the school instead of him. He said, I just got here. I'm not a guy. I'm working into being a guy. There were guys here last year. There were guys that were on that team. There were guys that were wronged. We're going to let them show up. And I respect the hell out of that from DJ Uiagalelei. But then I started talking to some people here, and there's a lot of people that, was it that? Or was it DJ just avoiding the pressure of being asked the hard questions? Was it that? Or was it DJ Uiagalelei, who has been here 2 times already before as a representative of the Clemson Tigers? Is it him avoiding the awkward / confrontational questions?
That sounds like something a Clemson fan would posit. No, I don't believe that for a second. Because when he's been interviewed on this station, it's been a good interview.
Yes, as a Clemson guy.
And he would be a good interview as a Florida State guy because he's just a good interview, no matter what school he's at.
But I do think that there is potentially, there is some level of the acknowledgement that if he sat down with a Clemson station, not us, but a Clemson station, which is here, if he sat down with a Clemson show that is to my left, there is no doubt that anyone who covered Clemson exclusively even if DJ Uiagalelei is not here, if they were interviewing Norvell or they were interviewing Patrick Payton, a defensive end that was here, the questions would all be about that. There would be two types of questions. There would be questions about DJ Uiagalelei and let's say it how they'd phrase it, the disappointment of his time, his tenure at Clemson. And there would be questions about the matchup between Clemson and Florida State in the regular season, which may or may not have massive ACC championship implications when that game gets played. The third possibility here, well, really second possibility here. The second possibility is that there would be a lot of conversation and a lot of talk about the lawsuits. Because while Clemson and Florida State are obviously rivals on the football field, they've kind of formed this weird alliance off of it, right? These lawsuits being argued by Florida State and Leon County, Tallahassee, being argued by Clemson and Pickens County, South Carolina, and both of them together arguing against the ACC in Mecklenburg County, North Carolina. These two schools have become the unlikeliest. There it is. I'm good at this. The unlikeliest of allies in an arena that nobody really wants to be in. And I wonder if that was just a way to avoid football players and coaches being asked questions about lawsuits that they obviously don't have any knowledge of or inside information of. It just struck me as, I don't really know. Disappointing is one way. I don't know if it made me mad. I don't know if it bothered me, if it just upset me, if I just think it's dramatic or what. But Florida State told the ACC, we are not doing interviews with Clemson stations while we are there, which is why we have no noise from the Noles. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate live from ACC Media Days in Charlotte, North Carolina.
All right, there's another angle maybe you didn't think of. They don't want bulletin board material,
That might not be wrong either.
which they could very easily get if DJ were to say the wrong thing.
I hated it. It was a waste of my time. I wish I'd have gone to Oregon State first. Hang on one second.
Now, if you were a Clemson station, which you are near one, or
I'm near
will be, yeah, I would be destroying that.
Oh, for sure. I have no doubt they will. I mean, listen, I don't have a particular dog in that fight, and even I was like, you're doing what now? You're doing what?
We won't know that, Trey, until Thursday, will we?
So my understanding, because I took off because the FSU interview period was at 2:30 to 3 o'clock, I think, and I helped Diesel and Cole pack up, and then I took off because, like I told, we weren't getting any FSU interviews, which meant my day was done because the Georgia Tech interviews were 3 to 3:30, which was when Cole and Diesel were on the air. They had Brent Key, and so I took off. My understanding is they did the interviews with the other stations. It literally just was, and there are 3 here. It's the other station in town.
By the way, now I'm starting to see something nefarious because How do they know which stations to skip over? Oh, well, the ACC conveniently put the 3 stations together.
It's geographically, they're put together in geography because there's 2 Louisville stations, they're next to each other. There are 3 Charlotte stations, they're all next to each other. There are 4 Virginia stations, Richmond, Virginia, 910 The Fan in Louisville, I think. They're all together. So they put the stations together geographically. There's like 2 New York stations, they're over there, like Syracuse stations, they're over there. There's 3 from South Florida, they're over there. All the Florida State,
all right, Rob,
Florida State, they're all over there.
It's a work, man.
Oh, okay.
It's a work. It's
Well,
for sure. It's a work.
I'm a mark. What do you want?
Yeah, this is all about Florida State. They come up with this idea. The ACC is complicit, and they said, we'll help cover by doing this, and that's what they did. So okay, fine.
Code on the screen, people would click it. I do it like that.
Yeah, but now you're. I
Far
mean,
away.
yeah, no, you're covering up the trip cam, and I don't like.
Oh, that's more
that.
important.
Yeah,
I'll slide back over.
it is because.
I'll set this up in a way that when I get up and walk away, the QR code.
There you go. Well, actually, it usually is that way when you get up and walk away. I'm not sure that thing works, by the way. We've been told. Oh, yeah.
Come on,
you're-
yeah, it's got to.
No,
Hold on.
we've been told. All right, we're coming back.
Yeah, it works.
Maybe it doesn't work on a screen. I mean, you're right next to the thing.
Right to the
Infinity Sports Network. No need to check the clock. It's Rob Brown time. Now, weekday mornings from 6 to 10 on the Fan Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show live from ACC Media Days in Charlotte, North Carolina is right here on the Fan Upstate. Rob of the great one, Lonzo. Trey Setter, Clemson refusing interviews with FSU stations. I do not know the answer to that, Trey. We will find out on Thursday when Clemson comes to town. Dabo Swinney will be here. He is bringing Cade Klubnik with him. I will tell you that we have interviews scheduled with both of those gentlemen. We will record those. I do have my time. We will be speaking to Cade Klubnik and Dabo Swinney at 1:30 and 1:40 on Thursday. We will record those interviews. Diesel and Cole will run them back on Wire to Wire that afternoon. I will post them on our social media before I leave ACC Media Days on Thursday, and then Lonzo and I will break those interviews down when we return on Monday as we are off on Friday.
All right. I don't want to cause any problems. I don't want there to be this to affect your interview with Dabo, but are you going to ask him? Are you going to ask him are you going to mention that Florida State has refused interviews with, I think you got to, don't you?
Yeah, but I mean, again, all the best Dabo can do is give me speculation and bulletin board material, which don't get me wrong, great. Like, great, I'll take it, right? Like, that's always fun. Bulletin board material is fun, especially when you're the one that generates it. I think he's got to speculate because right now, that's all we can do. There's, like I said.
I mean, that's fine with speculation. I think that's a question that needs to be asked. I really do. But,
and that's fair. I mean, I very well will. And if you want me to, then I will. I will do so on behalf of the great one.
You can do it on behalf of me. I'm okay with
Fair
that.
enough.
I will take the heat for that.
Fair enough. So like I said, I think that's got to come about from one of two things. It's either A, to protect DJ Uiagalelei, who's not here, right? He didn't come, but to protect the players in Mike Norvell from having their quarterback thrown under the bus. And I'll say this, and I don't mean this any kind of way, but it is what it is. If you are a whatever station, right? You're a Clemson station, you're a Florida State station, you're a Virginia station, you're a local station. If you are a fan of whatever, if you're a radio station that covers a school, that does not mean you will not be critical of the school when it is required, or of the coach or of the team when it is required. It doesn't mean you can't give an objective breakdown, but you are fans. You are going to break it down from a silver lining perspective, and this is a very contentious year for those two programs. It is not just contentious on the field, where two may face each other twice. There's a not just a very good, but I think the highest probability matchup for the ACC championship game is Florida State and Clemson playing a second time with a title and a bye week in the playoffs on the line, and potentially a bye week and perhaps elimination from playoff consideration on the line. If one of those teams beats the other and they play again in the ACC title game at the end of the regular season, it is possible that the loser of that ACC championship game doesn't make the playoffs as a two-loss team. If you go into that game 11-1 with a loss to the other, and then you lose to them a second time, and it ends up dropping you to 11-2, that may get you bumped from the playoffs this year. I don't think that's true if you're a team in the Big Ten. I don't think that's true if you're a team in the Southeastern Conference. But we learned last year, and you can fight me all you want. This is one of a very few times where I'm not going to say you can't change my opinion. I'm saying I've heard every damn argument repeatedly at this point, and no one has. You learned last year that the conspiracy theories that have been thrown out there, that the SEC and the Big Ten get bonus points, that the SEC and the Big Ten are favored, that the SEC and the Big Ten get special treatment from the selection committee of choice, playoffs or whatever, ranking, whatever. That conspiracy theory, as far as I'm concerned, got confirmed last year, okay? It got confirmed when a 13-0 Florida State team got left out for a one-loss Alabama team. It got confirmed as far as I'm concerned because it was the first time in the history of college football playoffs that an undefeated Power 5 conference team got left out of the ability to win a championship. It happened. That you can talk to me about Jordan Travis, and you can talk to me about the offense, and you can talk to me about backup quarterbacks, and you can talk to me about everything you want to talk to me about. The reality is it was the first time, regardless of the reason, the first time that a Power 5 undefeated conference champion got left out of the playoffs. I just made Lonzo so mad he got up and walked away. So I think now that we can say with some level of certainty that will happen again just further down the line. It'll happen again. It's just going to be that now it'll be an ACC team that's fighting for the 11th or 12th playoff spot that potentially gets bumped for an SEC or a Big Ten team that has the same amount of, if not fewer losses, or if not more losses, will get bumped out of that last playoff spot in favor. If we end up in a spot this year where there is an ACC team, let's say Miami. Y'all know I can't stand a hurricane, all right? I am openly hostile to the Miami Hurricanes. Let's say a hurricane. Let's say the Miami Hurricanes wrap up this year at 10-2. And let's say that they get to 10-2. They do not make the championship game for the Atlantic Coast Conference. That's FSU and Clemson. But Miami gets to 10-2. And let's say 10-2, they don't make a championship game. And over in, let's say the SEC, is Ole Miss. And Ole Miss ends their season 10-2 and does not make the championship game for the Southeastern Conference. You know Ole Miss is going in ahead of you, right? We just know that's going to be the reality. I would even say it's not lunacy to say that if Ole Miss is 9-3 and Miami is 10-2, Ole Miss might still go in over Miami despite having more losses. Why? Because it literally just happened. So Lonzo brought up in the last break when we were kind of talking about about the reasons that Florida State might have avoided interviews with, quote, Clemson stations, end quote. His thought was maybe they're trying to avoid giving Clemson bulletin board material. Maybe they're trying to avoid saying something that they know that my colleagues on my left and my right, should Mike Norvell say something that is considered bleep talk about Clemson, right? You know that they're going to put that all over their radio station, and they're going to put it up on billboards, and they're going to send that segment over to to the boys at Clemson, and that's going to be played in the locker room. Mike Norvell said, blah, 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 blah. Can you believe it? Now, do I think that's the case? No, because it's a rivalry game. They've been playing this game with each other for a very long time. These types of things have been happening for years and years and years and years and years, and I've never not, at the 3 years we've done this now, going on 4, I've never not had Florida State guys come through. We've had Jordan Travis. We've had Mike Norvell. We've had all these guys on the show. This is the first year they have said no. Now, this year's different than years gone by because going into last year, nobody, including Florida State fans, thought that team was going 13-0 and winning the ACC. And the years before that, we knew they weren't going to be good at all. This year, coming off of a 13-0 ACC championship season, they have expectations this year. The expectations for Florida State are to be right back in that ACC title game. The expectations for Florida State are win this conference, earn the playoff berth this year, get the bye. That's the expectations. So there is a different factor feel to what FSU is looking at coming into this year, Lonzo. I don't know if that's enough that would be the reason, which leads me to believe it is either A, they don't want nasty things being said about DJ because they're worried about how he'll take him. Will he get knocked out of that confidence zone, which we know he will. First game against Georgia, he got his ass kicked, and he was never the same guy, despite having tons of confidence on this show at ACC Media Days that year. He got hammered by Georgia, and he was never the same guy. And we know
all right. I'm going to disagree with you there because I don't think the problems Clemson had was with him. Did he immediately get better when he was gone? Did the record improve?
That's fair argument. Not really, right? Not really. I mean, they made the switch. And again, I have said a number of times to Clemson fans, as much as you want to look at that period of Clemson football and go DJ Uiagalelei was disappointing, it's not exactly like the development or lack thereof of Cade Klubnik going into last year is anything that makes you scream it was all DJ's fault, right? And I'm going to say right now, this is what I've been saying this entire offseason. This is a prove-it year for Dabo Swinney. His philosophy is going to be proven successful or not this year, and their ability to develop quarterbacks will be proven successful or not this year. But what I can say is I think there are still questions about the ability, development, mental toughness of DJ Uiagalelei. And I don't think those are unfair questions to ask. You will remember, if you've been listening to this show for any length of time, there has been like 2 or 3 vendettas where I've been openly hostile to somebody on the radio. Conor McGregor is one of those guys. Although my dude popped off on Jake Paul the other day, and that made me very happy. All right. But Conor McGregor's a guy who's caught this smoke before. One of the other guys that caught this, DJ Uiagalelei's dad. I said, I think you built this kid up to think that he's God's gift to football before he strapped on the chin strap for the first time. And that's how you get a guy killed. When they roll up, and remember, it wasn't just Dave. There was a story about Dabo circling Charlotte in an airplane while recruiting DJ and pointing down to the football field and going, that's where you're going to be throwing touchdowns, right? Like they had, I really do think, they had this kid convinced that he was just the heir apparent to the throne, right? That Sunshine was going to the league after a string of successful Clemson quarterbacks. Sunshine was going to the league. DJ was going to step in, and he was just going to be the next guy to wear the tiger paw and succeed at quarterback and go win a Heisman. And he didn't develop, right? So he goes to Oregon State. That pressure comes off. He doesn't have that pressure on him. He has a better year. Let's not say he was a Heisman candidate last year, but he had a better year. Now he goes to Florida State, and you're kind of in the mix. He's had 1 year to play and figure it out and develop without the pressure on him. Now he goes to Florida State, where there is immense pressure on him to fill the shoes of Jordan Travis and to take that team back to an ACC championship game. Was this Mike Norvell protecting DJ Uiagalelei, or was this Florida State going, we got these lawsuits, we got these distractions, Clemson is our football opponent, but our legal ally, and we don't want to create a world in which something gets said by one school or the other, by one group or the other, that makes all of that more complicated, which is why. And let's talk about this coming up in the next hour of the show. As much as they're all saying the Big Ten doesn't want Florida State and Clemson, the SEC doesn't want Florida State and Clemson, I don't believe that for a damn second. And I'll tell you why coming up in the next hour. But before we get to that next hour, Lonzo is about to show you why he has won multiple national championships in sports flashing.
Wow. I don't even know how to go. The Atlanta Braves dropped their third in a row yesterday with a 4-1 loss to the Reds. All-star Ronaldo Lopez took the loss, allowing 7 hits and 4 runs through 6 innings of work. The debut of rookie Nacho Alvarez went poorly as he went 0 for 4 for the plate. Atlanta is now 54-45 and 8.5 games back of Philly. The U.S. men's basketball team played in front of the largest basketball audience in London history and walked away with a win over current FIBA World Cup champion Germany, 92-88. LeBron James scored 20 points with 6 boards and 4 assists. Make sure you tune in this afternoon from 3 to 7 p.m. for a brand new local show, Wire to Wire. Cole, Bryson, and Diesel get you up to date on the latest local and national sports news. Great guests, great debate, and, of course, a whole lot of fun. And it's all Wire to Wire.
Up to the minute upstate traffic. The Cordell and Cordell construction cam shows all the overnight road work has been picked up and cleaned up. Right now, 85 is running good with the slight slowdown.
You got me on that one.
Due to lane changes. 29 to Wade Hampton and 25 Whitehorse are both problem-free. Spartanburg is also clear as a bell. From the News Talk 98.9 WORD Traffic Center, I'm Bill Brooks on the Fan Upstate.
Get ready for the Marcus King Band Family Reunion, starring Marcus King Band, the Avett Brothers, Band of Horses, and Sierra Farrell, Nikki Lane, Richie Mitch and the Coal Miners, and a special jam with Marcus King and Friends. Saturday and Sunday, August 24th and 25th. CCNV Amphitheater, Simpsonville. Tickets, VIP, and travel packages on sale now at MarcusKingFamilyReunion.com. The Marcus King Band Family Reunion.
Tired of hearing scary ads about the IRS? Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. We may be able to significantly reduce and even eliminate what you owe to the IRS. Taxpayers should know. Huge savings are now being made available through the Fresh Start program that can drastically reduce the amount you will owe if you qualify. Even if you haven't filed your taxes in years or are facing wage garnishment, liens, levies, or under audit, we can help. We've earned over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today. To see what savings you may qualify for, visit us online at TRA.com or call us at 800-511-0379.
Got a busy week.
800-511-0379.
Not as busy as your week, but
again, that's 800-511-0379.
going Creed tonight,
Creed
going
Advocates.
Deadpool Thursday
Real
night.
solutions for real people.
He just texted me. I would have
Welcome
gone
to
with you to
AutoZone.
Creed
What
if
are
I
you
knew they
working
were
on
going to
today?
play all the hits and then I could
Starting
peace out
today.
early.
No
And I
one
was like,
wants
nope.
that. We
No.
can get you set up for some
They're all
Saturday
hits.
You might just need a fresh charge, and we can take care of that.
I
free
I
of
think
charge.
there's still tickets
But
available.
if it is
She
time for a new
still
battery,
wants to
we've got
go.
So I'm
replacement
gonna
batteries
say
that'll fit your needs, starting at just $79.99.
That's
what makes us
the
America's number one
band
battery
is not the
destination.
reason that she does. Me and the band are not the reasons that she doesn't.
Restrictions apply.
As school
Gotcha.
messes return,
You know what I'm
rest
saying?
Easy.
Yeah.
Clorox has got your back to school.
Oh, no.
Might be seats available next to me and Cameron. I'm just saying, if you want to get
I'll let her
closer to the thing.
She wants to get
At least
6
they
feet
stocked
from
up
the
on
edge.
Clorox disinfectant.
Yeah,
Because you're not messing up my kitchen counters like last time.
Ooh, smart.
Hold me now.
I hear that's not that far down or whatever. Yeah,
Stock up on
I am
Clorox
still trying to
disinfecting
figure
wipes
out
that clean
what time
3
I'm
times
going
better
over there
than wet paper towels and kitchen
because I
dishes
hear
soap
parking
is
is
directed.
not
MGM
not fun.
I'm not going to
It's
get
not.
offended if you're on the other side of me. Good. Some people on this network like to get mad if somebody's on a different side than them, and I don't get it. I don't care. Really? Yeah, we're fine. You know what? You bet.
If I get too
something
tired,
else
I'll just tell Cameron we're
Guess what?
sleeping in my
That's how it
car.
works. That's how sports betting
We'll
works.
come home.
I'm fading
We'll
my
come
band
home like
after
at
this. I was going
3 or
upstairs and
something.
I walked by the studio
Although he's still
where
going to
the
work.
Nationals network broadcast is run out of, and the great JT the Vic upstairs said, "Hey, make sure you fade the Nats tomorrow."
By the way, I got up and switched chairs. That other chair is set. That other chair is set up for someone who's real stiff. on the stream. I'm just saying, and it has no back flexibility to it, and it will not move.
So not the one that I sit in.
No, you're the only one that sits in that. You're the only one that likes that.
I love that chair. I don't love that chair. It's the best of those chairs.
Strongly disagree.
Official Rob Brown lockdown.
Yeah.
Apologize, stream. I left the commercials
for
in.
the Carolinas. This is the Rob Brown Show. Raw only.
The Fan Upstate.
And away we go, ladies and gentlemen. Hour number 2 of the Rob Brown Show starts right now. Welcome back live from Charlotte, North Carolina. It is ACC Media Days. Our coverage continues right here on the Fan Upstate. I will tell you before I continue, I don't know if you saw them just mere moments ago, but there was a group of 4 people that was right on the other side of this banner that's behind me when I started the segment. 1 young lady and 3 young men on the way over to the breakfast area that's over there. And as I opened up the show, I heard the young lady over my microphone go, "Oh," as I started. So, I'm not being quiet. I'm just not being as loud as you.
Yeah, well, no, you're in nearly peak Rob Brown form. You're not doing that, whatever that thing was you were doing yesterday that we all hated, every one of us.
Oh man, hey, we got a lot going on today. I will tell you that after the show is over, I will be talking with Pat Narduzzi, head coach at Pitt. Pitt's a weird team because they're close, but also they're not. They're close, but it just doesn't feel like they're able to get to recruit the talent that they need to jump up there into that next tier, right? I think right now, Lonzo, I'd say there's 4 tiers of ACC football. Florida State and Clemson are at the top of that. I would say Miami is on the next tier. Is anybody on the second tier besides Miami? North Carolina, I think, has fallen off. Duke was probably on it last year. They've fallen off of it. Syracuse is interesting. Got a new head coach coming in. Syracuse, maybe. They've got some real raw talent there. Virginia Tech feels close, but I don't know if they're in the second tier. It feels like everybody else is just a third-tier program this year. We're going to talk a lot about that later on. I do want to we'll give some thoughts here, and I am going to let you guys assist me in something. You will not get the final say. I will. But I have been asked to submit my media poll for the predicted order of finish of the of the Atlantic Coast Conference, as well as help to select the All-ACC team for 2024. So I will get y'all's opinion on what order of finish we want to put the ACC in, as well as what players you guys think will stand out for Clemson, for Florida State, and for all of the other schools as well. So we'll do that a little bit later on in the week as we progress through ACC Media Days. I will remind you that we will not be here tomorrow morning. Lonzo and I have had this day off for a very long time because we have a very important function this evening. We're going to see Creed tonight, and I'm going to tell you straight up, I'm going to be in no condition to work tomorrow morning. So instead, you will you will get. Actually, I don't know. Are we doing national tomorrow? I haven't been told yet.
Yes.
Okay. So you'll get the lovely Maggie and Perloff show, and we will return on Thursday morning here from ACC Media Days. Of course, that is the day that Cade and Dabo and Los Tigres come to town. There it was to talk a little Clemson football. I did yesterday get a chance to catch up with Don Munson, the voice of the Clemson Tigers. He will be here on Thursday. He is going to try to come by early enough to jump live on the air with us at the end of the show, though we may have to record that one as well. I will let you know how this whole thing shapes up as we go, but no show tomorrow. Colin Diesel will be in studio this evening. They will be at the base tonight, so you will get ACC coverage from me, various throughout the day today. You will get Colin Diesel live in studio tonight. Then tomorrow, you'll get Maggie and Perloff in the morning, and then you will get Wire to Wire with Cole and Diesel. They will be back here for day 3 of ACC Media Days tomorrow. Then I will return to ACC Media Days on Thursday, and Cole and Diesel will provide wrap-up coverage of ACC Media Days from the studio, live in studio on Thursday afternoon. Lonzo and I are then off again on Friday, and we will make our triumphant return on Monday, where we will put the entire ACC Media Days in the rear view mirror. And at that point, great one, we're going to be like, 14 days from NFL preseason football at that point? We're going to be less than that away from college camps kicking off.
By the way, I think it's going to be less than that because I think it's early August when the first preseason game.
Yeah, that's right. The Hall of Fame game. The Hall of Fame game is.
We also have Olympics that start this weekend. So
we do.
So we will have plenty of coverage.
Lonzo, the Hall of Fame game is literally next Thursday night.
Right. I told you. I thought it was earlier than that.
Wow.
Yeah. It's been football season all this week. You just haven't acknowledged it.
I mean, it's not football. It's football season when I see a snap on the TV, which is August 1st.
By the way, I just, I've been seeing snaps. I saw that pass that we talked about to Xavier Worthy yesterday. That looked like a snap to me. That looks like training camp. Training camp happens right before a game.
Give me no T-shirt warriors and try to convince me that's a thing. We talking about practice. We talking about practice, not a game, not the game we know and love. We talking about practice. Hey, it's just after 7 o'clock in the morning. You're an hour away from having to get to work. Clock in, lock in, start that very productive Tuesday in your life. But here's the thing. I know what you're going to want to do. You're going to want to work 10, 15 minutes. You're going to want to take a break. You're going to walk down the hall. You're going to go get Janet out of accounting. She's awesome. We all love Janet. Janet is the best. And you're going to walk down the hall with Janet. You're going to go to the water cooler. You're going to post up somewhere the boss can't see you. And when you do, you're going to talk sports. You want to talk sports at the office? Of course you do. That's why you're listening to the show right now. You want to talk sports at the office? You're going to need this.
Are you ready for the playbook of the peculiar, the almanac of the absurd, and the encyclopedia of the extraordinary? Well, you better be, because we're diving headfirst into the 3 top stories that will have your coworker say, "What kind of place is this?"
No.
Here we go. Welcome to the water cooler cheat sheet on the Fan Upstate.
It's the water cooler cheat sheet, the top 3 sports stories you need to know before you get to the office and start talking sports this AM. When you do, this is what you're going to be talking about. Let us begin, my dear friends, with item number 1. Lonzo, I have good news and I have bad news for you.
Okay.
The good news is that because we are on remote and because I didn't think about it before we started the show, I obviously don't have access to my soundboard right now. The good news is that you are not going to have to listen, as the bad news, I slammed the Braves panic button today. It's official. The panic button, just 4 games. Thank you very much. I'm gonna utilize this as the Braves panic button. Sound the alarm. Sound the alarm. The Braves are in trouble. Now, let's start with this. One of the big reasons they're in trouble. They're in trouble because of injuries. The Braves injury list right now is pretty bad. You got Ozzie Albies on it. You've got Spencer Strider out for the year. Ronald Acuna Jr. is out for the year. You're still waiting on Ian Anderson to get back. It's a laundry list. In fact, at this point, there is one Brave starter, one uno singular, from day number 1. One Brave starter who has not gone on the injury list for at least a couple of weeks now. That one Brave starter is first baseman Matty Ice Baby Olson, a man I am so frustrated with right now that I'm not even going to call him Matty Ice Baby Olson anymore after this. He's just Matt at this point, because Matt Olson is batting about 217. You know, the guy that led the team, scratch that, the guy that led the league in dingers and ribbies last year. Yeah, he's batting about 217 right now for this team. It's not going great. The offense stinks. And here's the problem. They're under attack now from the pitching, too. Reynaldo Lopez pitched in the All-Star game for the National League last Tuesday, a week ago. Pitched in the National League team's All-Star game because he's been very good. Until yesterday when he gave up 7 hits and 4 earned runs across 6 innings of work, struck out just 5 in the game, and took his 4th loss on the season. 3 for 29. That's what the Atlanta Braves did from the dish yesterday. 3 for 29. Marcell Ozuna, the only guy on the team that apparently remembers how to hold a baseball bat, had 2 of the Braves' 3 hits. Orlando Arcia had the only other hit on the day. 3 for 29. And they only walked 5 times, right? Like, it'd be one thing if it was 3 of 29, but they took 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 walks in the game. But they didn't. They walked 5 times. They struck out 8. They went 3 of 20. That's just not good enough. And I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're the Braves. I don't care if you're the Mariners. I don't care if you're the Cubs. I don't care if the Yankees. I don't care if you are a bottom dweller like the Miami Marlins or the Colorado Rockies. That ain't good enough. And that's just what the Braves are now. And I think we have hit the point now where it is fair to say that's what this team is. This team's mid. We kept waiting and saying, all right, we're going to hold off. We're going to give them time, right? A lot of chemistry. I think they deadened the baseball up this year. Pitching gets better every single year. There are guys out there doing stuff with the baseball, Paul Skeens, that we've never seen before. We're going to give them time. The bats are going to wake up. The Bravos offense is going to the moon, and they're going to be fine. Well, the Braves are now 1-3 after the All-Star break, after dropping a 4-1 decision yesterday to the Cincinnati Reds. No one can hit the ball. The defense is pedestrian at this point, and the injury list might as well be a starting 9 better than the Colorado Rockies. It is officially time to make a call. Not only are the Braves a mid-team, here is my hot take that I don't want to make, that I hate that I'm about to say. Here's my hot take, Lonzo. The Braves aren't making the playoffs. The Braves are not going to the postseason this year. And if they do, they're going to squeak in as the last wild card team. We all year it's been like, okay, you go in as the first wild card, that's fine. We have seen some teams go to win the National League Championship. Fine. We have seen teams come out of that first wild card spot and go in to and win the NL Championship. I don't think the Braves are going in. And if they do, it's going to be as the 3rd wild card spot, which will give them the most difficult path. But we said it's fine if they get the first wild card, right? That's fine. That's a fine spot to be in. Philadelphia is otherworldly right now. We're going to let them jump and run away a little bit. We'll take the first wild card. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think the Braves are good enough to get that. I don't. You brought up Nacho Alvarez Jr. That was supposed to be your dude yesterday. Prospect, biggest name in the Braves farm system. What'd he do? 0-for-4 with a K yesterday. Matt Olson yesterday, 0-for-3 with a K. Adam Duvall, 0-for-3. Eddie Rosario, 0-for-3. Sean Murphy has been a tragedy this year, 0-for-3. Kelenic, Alvarez, Riley, all 3 0-for-4. I don't know what you want me to tell you. The team is mid. They're going to pop off for an 8, 9, 10 run game every now and then, but then they're going to turn around and drop a bunch of 4-1s. I'm going to talk about this at length more later on in the show, but I am now comfortable saying the Atlanta Braves are not going to make the playoffs this year. Let's go to item number 2. Team USA basketball got back onto the court yesterday in front of the largest basketball audience to ever watch a game in London, England, a city you will remember that hosted the Olympics nary but a few months ago. Years ago. Not months. Few years ago. The largest basketball crowd ever assembled yesterday watched 39-year-old LeBron James look like 25-year-old LeBron James. LeBron scored the 11 final points for Team USA basketball. He also chipped in 8 rebounds in this game as well. And in the final couple of minutes of this game, Lonzo, I hope you got to watch it, because if you didn't, you missed prime LeBron last night. That dude looked like he was 25 again as the Americans knocked off the reigning, defending, undisputed FIBA World Cup champions Germany to the tune of a 92-88 victory. And LeBron, hours after being named the flag bearer for Team USA in the opening ceremony of the Summer Olympics, LeBron James yesterday said, "Watch me now," and went off last night. So I don't know if you got to see any of this. If you didn't, it's worth to go back and watch, because Bron was vintage last night.
No, I didn't see it, but I'm not surprised. We've been talking about all along, LeBron is not going to let this team lose. He's just not.
Bro, last night, my dude put this team on his back. Like, for me, this was all going to be about how do other guys provide relief to LeBron? How do you let LeBron be LeBron, but have guys like Jason Tatum and Steph Curry and these other cats on the team, Kevin Durant when he heals up indefinitely plays in the Olympics, when all these guys are ready to roll, how do you support LeBron being Lakers LeBron and not Cavs LeBron? Guess what, Jack? LeBron said, "I'm being Cavs LeBron in these Olympics," and he showed it last night. It was, and I mean this, I watched a little bit of this game. Oh, you know where I went last night, Lonzo? You know where I went for dinner last night? I went to the bar that David Tepper threw a drink, or that David Tepper got into the fight with the owner last night.
How was the food?
Really good.
Okay.
Ready for my even favoriter part? I sat at the bar at about 7:45, and the guy walks over and he goes, "Hey, just FYI, we're switching all these TVs to Monday Night Raw when it starts." And I was like, I'm wildly okay with that. And then he goes, "You a wrestling guy?" So I showed him the pictures. This was during the Damian Priest-Gunther showdown that opened the show.
Which was very good, by the way.
Very good, by the way. I showed him the pictures.
I still can't. I still don't know who I'm picking.
I do. We'll talk about that in a minute. I showed him the pictures of us with Gunther and Damian Priest. He goes, "Oh, that's awesome, dude. You're a wrestling guy." I said, "Yeah." He said, "I'll give you a secret. I'm not supposed to tell anybody." He said, "Whenever the wrestler shows are here in Charlotte, after the shows, they all come here because we serve food till 2 a.m. He goes, "You come to any Raw, SmackDown, or AEW and come to this bar, they're all hanging out here after it's over." I was like, he's showing me pictures of him taking shots with, like, boys from the crew. It's pretty incredible.
All right. Should you have told everyone that?
I didn't tell anybody what bar it was.
Okay. Yeah, you did. You did kind of.
Whatever. That's where we'll be. All right.
It might take a little research for them, but they can probably figure it out.
LeBron James looked like the basketball world heavyweight champion last night in the way that he absolutely took it after Team Germany. It was a blast. Let's go to, very quickly, item number 3. You know, I kicked around a bunch of different places I could go with this. Andy Murray is retiring after the Summer Olympics. We knew that. The Dodgers made a very interesting decision to DFA a longtime vet yesterday, which means that they're about to be aggressive with the trade deadline in Major League Baseball a week away. We were going to talk about Jordan Love, who has said he's not practicing with the team until he gets a new deal. That's very interesting. But here is what I'm going to go with instead. Y'all know my favorite sports studio show is Inside the NBA on TNT. Shaq, Kenny, Ernie, Chuck. They're my guys. My favorite studio show, I like that show more than I like my own show. And as T.O. once famously said, I love me some me. I love these guys more. Well, we were all kind of sad because after the NBA postseason, it was widely acknowledged that Inside the NBA on TNT was going to go away. Turns out maybe not. Warner Brothers Discovery informed the NBA yesterday that they have every intention of matching the $1.8 billion per year offer made to the NBA by Amazon Prime Video. Turner has had an NBA package since 1984. That is, and this is true, older than me, not Lonzo, but me. And games have been on TNT since the network launched in 1988. The NBA's Board of Governors approved the league's 11-year media rights deal with Disney, NBC, and Amazon Prime Video at their meeting last Tuesday in Las Vegas. Warner Brothers Discovery received copies of all 3 contracts on Wednesday. It gave them a 5-day clock to match one of those deals, and they have decided that they are going to. There are 3 deals in place. They are worth a collective $76 billion with a B dollars to the NBA. Well, TNT has said we would like to match Amazon Video. We would like to go back to our slot, which includes carrying games on Thursdays, as well as being able to stream other nights of the week on Max. And this opens the door for the return of Inside the NBA on TNT. Please, NBA, I need you to know that there are very few shows that have the ability to be an ambassador for a sport. Inside the NBA on TNT is the model of that. That is the best thing that you have going. My mother, not a basketball fan, not an NBA fan. My mother watches Inside the NBA on TNT because Chuck is so funny. And that is correct. That's how you grow your audience. Long live Chuck, long live Shaq, long live Kenny, and long live the GOAT Ernie. Inside the NBA on TNT may not be dead yet, my friends. When we come back, you know what? I'm going to talk Atlanta Braves baseball for just a minute because, as Alonzo said earlier, it's time to panic about the Braves. Back after this on The Rob Brown Show, live from Charlotte, North Carolina, and ACC Media Days. This is the Fan Upstate.
Real sports talk, real sports fans.
The Fan Upstate
Is the sports voice of you, the Upstate fan. Call 844-FAN-PHONE. That's 844-326-3.
Home now. All right, guys, I'm going to step away for 30 seconds. Y'all stay right there for me, please, and thank you. All right. Morning, James. All right, stream, what do we want to talk about? You guys got anything you want to discuss off the air? I'm happy to do it. That's what we're here for. Parade of people coming through the lobby.
New life. Next break.
10-4.
20 seconds.
Winnings, that's all. Bet MGM tonight.
Live sports betting updates as they happen. Weeknights at 7.
On the Fan Upstate.
Text us at 71307. Keyword fan. This is the Rob Brown Show with Lonzo. Mornings on the Fan Upstate.
So I got 3 texts about the Atlanta Braves coming out of the break. The first one said, Rob, Whit Merrifield got hurt fielding ground balls yesterday. If you missed that news on the show, Whit Merrifield, the former Philadelphia Philly, was signed to a contract by the Braves in order to kind of shore up the infield a little bit. Obviously, you have dealt with multiple injuries to this team so far. They are missing a number of guys that they were planning on relying on this season. So they brought over Whit Merrifield a couple of days after Ozzie Albies broke his wrist, got a fracture in his wrist. He's out 8 weeks. So Whit Merrifield comes over to give some depth. Here's what I'm going to say. Do you know why Whit Merrifield was available to sign a contract with the Atlanta Braves? Because Whit Merrifield got outright released by the Philadelphia Phillies. Played 54 games for that team this year, was batting 199 for that team. If that's the guy that you are relying to save you, if you are relying on a guy that is batting below the Mendoza line, and that's the guy that you need to come in and give you depth, you're in trouble, all right? Like, if you can't come up with better than a 200 hitter to put into that spot, I know what you're saying. Let me put it this way. The Mendoza line is considered the line of offensive futility when it comes to the MLB. If you are a guy who spends immense amount of time below the Mendoza line, you're not an MLB player, all right? And it's hard to be an MLB player. It's hard to do. That's why there's so few of them. That's why you have so many guys who get drafted and they spend 40 years in the minor leagues and never get a call-up. But if you're batting sub 200 and that's the guy that you think steps in when Ozzie Albies goes down, the Braves are in a world of hurt, all right? That's just what that tells me. The second text that came in was from our guy Corn Chip. Corn Chip texted the show. He said, Rob, no reason to panic. Haven't watched the Braves all year because I figured they wouldn't have a great year, which pains me to say as a Braves fan. Well, then let me tell you, Corn Chip, I love that this is the year you pick not to watch because you'd have an aneurysm, all right? I have watched the Braves all year. There's every reason to panic right now. There just is. There's every reason to panic right now for a number of reasons. You have been carried by your pitching. You have been carried by Chris Sale. You have been carried by Reynaldo Lopez. You have been carried by this team. This is a team right now that has a collective team batting average that is sitting in the neighborhood of 240. Now, it ain't the end of the world in and of itself. You're right there with the Cleveland Guardians. That's a pretty good-looking baseball team right now. You're right there with the San Francisco Giants. You know who you're below? You're below the Colorado Rockies. You're below the St. Louis Cardinals. Okay? And it's in team batting average. Now, you're a little bit below middle of the pack right now. You're 17th in Major League Baseball in batting average. You are tied, however, to give you a better perspective of what that number means. As a team, you have the same batting average as the Washington Nationals. There's too much talent on this team to share a batting average with the Washington Nationals. You are 2/100ths of a point in the batting average better than the Texas Rangers right now. Yeah, Texas Rangers, who are considered to be having maybe the most disappointing season in Major League Baseball. I don't disagree with that. They were one of my fall-off predictions for the year after winning the World Series last year. They're not the same team. You've been carried by your pitching. You've been carried by Chris Sale. You've been carried by Reynaldo Lopez. You've been carried by a bullpen that has not been getting the credit that it deserves for keeping these games that are turning out 2-1, 2-0, 3-2, keeping them as low-scoring baseball games. But you are in a spot now where even that slowed down. Reynaldo Lopez gets shelled last night. That's a guy that you'd like to think you can count on as being a win. The third text that I got during this break was a texter who said, Rob, they've played 4 games out of the break. You don't have a big enough sample size to panic. You understand that we've already played over half the season, right? You understand we have like 60 games left to play and then the season's over, right? Now, is 60 games a lot of games? Yeah, 60 games feels like a lot of games. But let's also point out that opening day was yesterday, all right? Metaphorically speaking. But I'm willing to bet, if you ask the great one, when it was that Rob said, yay, I'm stopping everything in my life because today is opening day, it feels like it was about a week ago. The Braves are 54-45 right now. Like, I'm pretty bad at math, but that's well north of 100 games they've played so far.
Yeah, what place are they in?
They are currently second in the NL East by 8.5 games behind the Philadelphia Phillies. In the wild card race, they are currently today, right now, though this is not guaranteed to stay there for very long, they are currently the first overall wild card team at 54-45.
So wait, in the midst of all your panic, what you're saying is if the playoffs started today, the Atlanta Braves would be in the playoffs.
I have a quick question for you, Lonzo. Do the playoffs start today?
No, because the season is like 300 games long.
The season has less than 60 games, or excuse me, right at 60 games left in it. All right, we have played well north of half the season at this point.
Is it well north though?
It's well-ish north.
Okay,
yes.
fine.
Yes, I would say so. I would say that when you are looking at a season that consists of 162 games, and again, I'm pretty bad overall at math. That is, as I've said many times on the show, why all my jobs are words jobs. You've played 99. See what I say? You played north of 100 games. You played 99 games. I told you, I'm bad at math. You played 99 out of 162 games. 81 is halfway. Yeah, you're well north of half the season played so far. And you are looking at a team that's like 4-6 in any given 10-game stretch, all right? The Mets are supposed to be the definition of futility. They're 3 games back of Atlanta right now. 3 games back. The Padres, a team that you were very fortunate, in my ever so humble opinion, to go out to San Diego, the final series before the All-Star break, and miraculously take 2 out of the 3 away from the Padres. They're 52-50. They are 2 games back for that first wild card spot. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give you a prediction, Lonzo. And you could write this down and we'll circle back around and we'll check on it next week. But a week from today, next Tuesday at 7:30 a.m., I'm going to set an alarm on my phone to do so. Next Tuesday at 7:34 a.m., because at this point we'll be going to break because we'll be on the clock. When we come out of that break, we'll take a look. And here's my prediction, Lonzo. By next week, the San Diego Padres will take the first overall wild card spot away from the Atlanta Braves. I'm going to make another prediction. My prediction is that 2 weeks from now, 2 Tuesdays, not next Tuesday, but the one after that, 2 Tuesdays from now, the Arizona Diamondbacks will take the second wild card spot away from the Braves, and they will be in a fight with the St. Louis Cardinals for the third wild card spot. And I am making the prediction that 2 weeks from now, when I ask Lonzo the question, or maybe more when I bring this up without setting the context and spring a trap, and Lonzo inevitably asked me, hey, Rob, if the season was to end right now, what happens to the Braves? And I will very sarcastically respond to you, Lonzo, they missed the playoffs if the season ends today. They missed the playoffs.
Nope.
This team.
Nope.
A team that shares a batting average with the Washington Nationals and a team that trails, as I mentioned moments ago, the Colorado Rockies in batting average. Here's the hot take. The Atlanta Braves are going to miss the playoffs this year.
Unless say that. Tell me you did not just say that.
Yes, I did, Book. Yes, I did. They're going to miss the playoffs unless something very dramatic and unforeseen happens in the next 2 weeks. And I got no reason to believe it does. Hey, when we come back, there's somebody walking around the building, and I think it's somebody I'm going to go try to snag for an interview during the break. And if I get them to say yes, it'll be the biggest interview we've had on the show in a very long time. I can't promise it. I'm going to go ask if it's who I think it is. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
New life.
All right, guys, step it away.
Listen on your phone. Download the
Wire to Wire with Diesel and
I
Cole
did not get
Bryson.
Turn on, leave on. Afternoons 3 to 7 on the Fan.
Were they who you thought they were?
Yes, but I could not. Well, 90% sure.
Morning jolt of
I'll tell you.
sports. It's the Rob Brown Show.
Do you want to know what song it was that got us booted in Russia? I am a real American.
You're right.
But
That's hilarious.
Russia
That's
took
hilarious.
us off the radio for I am a real American.
Screw you, Russia. that's all I got.
Suck it, Putin.
Yeah. Hey, Russia.
Down with that. We got 2 words for you.
Fight for your life. I am a real American.
We need to record this promo, but I need you to go for it.
Rights of every man. Suck it, Russia.
Sure. You're being asked to golf on the stream right now.
Don't hit snooze.
Look at you. Look at how quickly you went to the stream. That's hilarious.
The Fan
Matthew.
Upstate.
Rise and shine, sports fans. Grab your coffee and a
Come back.
sports on
Maybe
the
next
Rob
weekend.
Brown
I'll
Show.
talk to you
Puts
about
me
it.
in my
I'd love
zone
to
and
come
gets
out
me
play.
ready for the day.
On the
Put me in the
Fan
first.
Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show carries on live from Charlotte, North Carolina, the site of this year's ACC football kickoff and media days. This is the Fan Upstate. Rob Brown and the Great One Lonzo with you this AM, and glad to do it. We'll be here all the way through Thursday, kind of. Not going to be here tomorrow. Zoe and I are off. However, Cole Bryson and Diesel will be here tomorrow afternoon, holding down the fort for you on Wire to Wire. We will be back on Thursday morning. That is, of course, the day that Dabo Sweeney, Kate Klubnik, and the Clemson Tigers come to town. We'll get some interviews with those guys that will be put up on social for you, as well as replayed for you on Wire to Wire that afternoon. Now, I told you going to break that I had seen somebody walk across the lobby, and I'm 85% sure it was who I think it was, and I'm 85% sure, Lonzo, that Dave Tepper just walked through the building. Now, I watched him come across. He was walking on the other side of Media Row, of Radio Row, across from where we are, and then he walked to the other side of the lobby. Over to my left, there's like a little it's a restaurant. It's a hotel lobby restaurant kind of set up, and he kind of stood at the entrance to that for about 2 minutes. Well, when he was walking by, he was staring in this. I don't know if you watched me at one point. I was just kind of like looking like that because this cat was staring at me, and not like angry, but just kind of like a "what is this dude doing" kind of look. And I was like,
you know why, don't you? You mentioned his name and the restaurant.
No. Earlier, like in the last segment.
Yeah.
I didn't say
so you're saying that there's no possibility that he heard you.
No. He had just come in the main doors.
You're right,
Well,
because he probably doesn't have a radio.
I don't know that he's. I'm assuming Dave Tepper's a big fan of the Fan Upstate and the Rob Brown Show, but I could be wrong. But he walks through, and I'm 90% sure it was Tep. And so we got to the break there, and I was going to get up and go watch him. And obviously, in the time that I was able to get the away screen up and walk over there, he has disappeared and gone MIA, because I was 100% going to grab him and see if he would say yes to an interview. Now, again, I'm like 90% sure it was him, not 100%. So I'll be seeing if he pops up in the news later for like throwing a drink on a hotel employee. But we will see if, as James pointed out, I have said his name and he appears. However, I don't think you're going to get a lot of people saying that they believe in Dave Tepper. But we'll find out. If it was him, and
man, I hope people in the lobby are trying to figure out what you just did.
Nobody yet. There's not enough people here that are paying attention. Everybody else here is doing their show. Anyway, we'll see if it was indeed him, and he does indeed walk through the lobby again. Lonzo, if I say, "Hey, hold down the fort for a minute," and I just disappear, that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, I was just going to suggest that I will do that.
Yeah.
So
if he does walk back by, I will put down the headphones mid-segment and see if we can grab him for an interview, because I'd be very interested in seeing. Because we've talked about this a lot. We might as well talk some Panthers while we are here in Charlotte, North Carolina, as we have not done so far this week. There was the big thing after the incident at the bar, where he went in and had a, shall we say, a stern conversation with the owner of the bar about the sign about him that was out front of the bar. I went to that bar last night, by the way. I asked about it, and one of the bartenders was like, it was overblown. Like, it wasn't a hostile conversation. It was just kind of like a, what are you doing? Lulz, move on kind of thing. Fine. I also assume the bar probably would want that to be the position. Whatever. So,
yeah, because that didn't make people go to that bar in particular, like, say, Rob Brown deciding to go there.
You know what? You know why I decided to go there?
It's because it's a work. That's why.
No.
The whole thing was a work, and it got you. You got.
No. Time the hell out, Lonzo. Time the hell out. Let's go back to when this happened. I was the only person on the radio saying, guys, this is Dave Tepper trying to be a normal person. This is Dave Tepper trying to be funny with the locals in Charlotte. This is Dave Tepper trying to be down on the level of us, the peons, but not knowing how to, right? Because like he's a billionaire. He doesn't have daily interaction with bartenders. It's not part of his life, right? So when this whole thing happened, I said, let me tell you how this goes. Dave Tepper goes in there because he saw the sign. Dave Tepper goes in there to try to make it a joke. Dave Tepper, you realize I'm saying his name a lot of times. Dave Tepper goes in there to try to like, yuck, isn't this funny with the bartender? Like, hey, you put my name on a sign. Here I am, lulz. Like, he tried to make it a fun thing, but because Dave Tepper doesn't know how to interact with normal people like that, it got turned into this big thing that I don't think that it ever was. And I will also tell you that, and I learned this yesterday, I don't know how I missed it. Wire to Wire had the owner of the bar on the show to talk about the incident a while back. And Diesel said that was pretty much what it was. It was like, it wasn't a confrontation. Like, he came in, said something about the sign. I said, it's a joke, bro. He said, yeah, I figured, and that was kind of the end of it, right? So what was more, or I should say, is more interesting to me than that, is that at the press conference of the introduction of Dan Morgan as the GM and Dave Canales as the head coach, at that press conference, a number of reporters saw Dave Tepper, went to Dave Tepper, and said to Dave Tepper, hey, man, what are your thoughts, right? Like, this is your guy. You brought this guy on board. He's supposed to be the guy. What, your hands on. What's all this mean to you? What do you think here? And Tep notably said at the time, I'm taking a step back, right? Like, this is, I've been too hands-on. I need to separate myself. You're going to hear less of me. And he said, this press conference is about Dave Canales and Dan Morgan, so I'm not answering any questions. I'm going to let them handle business and stand on said business during this press conference. You're going to hear and see less of me moving forward. And this is the question that I've asked a lot of people that I have heard bagging on Dave Tepper the last couple of months. What's the last you've heard from Dave Tepper? What's the last thing you've heard of Dave Tepper? What's the last quote you've read from Dave Tepper? What's the last soundbite you got from Dave Tepper? What's the last appearance you've seen of Dave Tepper? Because I'm going to be straight with you here, great one. I have none. I don't know. I'm trying to rack my brain to think if there has even been a day. We love a Dave Tepper story on the show. We love a Dave Tepper story on the radio. I have not seen hide nor lack of hair of Dave Tepper since that press conference, with the exception of the bar thing. That's been it. I am going to give the guy credit so far for staying true to his word, Lonzo.
All right, so if that indeed was Dave Tepper, then he's definitely staying away from football operations because it's football season and camp is going on.
Mm-hmm.
Not here in the upstate, but there in Charlotte. So, I mean, what's he doing there? So maybe you thought it was him. Maybe it's not him.
Well,
because if he was still on top of things, still interfering, he'd be. It's not really interfering when you own the thing. That he'd be over there watching practice.
Let's take the time to point out that the ACC and Bank of America Stadium have a very deep relationship. Let's take time to point out that's where the ACC championship game is. Let's take time to point out there's usually an ACC neutral site game that happens there a time or two a year. Let's take time to point out that They do have deep bowl connections there. And Charlotte, the home of America's favorite bowl game, the Duke's Mayo Bowl, America's favorite mayonnaise. Let's point out that Dave Tepper and BOA, not that Dave Tepper owns BOA, but obviously he has a heavily invested business interest in Bank of America Stadium, and the Carolina Panthers are a part of that relationship. Let's point out that Dave Tepper does have a reason to be here at ACC Media Days, and that is the relationship between the ACC with BOA and therefore with the Carolina Panthers. So it makes sense if it was him that he is here, though, again, I have not confirmed it. Like I said, I'm like 90% sure that it was, and now he is MIA. I'll go search here in a minute when we get to the top of the hour, and Lonzo Sports flashes all of you. That's coming up here in just a minute.
Stop that. Maybe you should ask around and find out if that was really him.
I'm going to.
Before you go approach some old white dude and say, hey,
stop.
Dave,
I know what Dave Tepper looks like.
But you're not 100% sure.
Because he was on the other side of a very wide room from me.
Do you need your prescription checked? I mean,
yeah, I probably do, to be honest with you. But no,
Okay.
he was on the other side of the room, and again, he get like the look he gave me. I'll put it this way: if it was the look he gave me, he knows some of the things I've said on the air.
Well, here's the thing, and I know this is a shock to some people.
Keegan, I'm not going to go ask random bald guys to
Yes.
come on the show. I know who Dave Tepper is.
He almost did. Rob Brown's being Rob Brown today. Rob Brown being Rob Brown is very loud. So there's a good chance that maybe he walked in and went, "Why is that dude being so loud?" It could be. That could be it.
Honestly, that is. It's just as likely that as it is anything else. All right, it's just as likely that. So. Again, if it is him, two things. Number one, I'll try to find him during the break, and if it's him, I'll see if he'll come on for a few minutes. If it is not him, and he happens to be listening right now, again, we know he's a big-time fan of the show. I'm going to give David Tepper credit, and I'm going to give him credit for the fact that he said at that press conference, "You're going to see and hear a lot less of me." Right? I am listening to Rashad Beard, and I am going to step back. He has. He has. In fact, I would say this. If it's him, if he's here, Lonzo, it is the first time that I have seen or heard Dave Tepper. Well, I haven't heard him yet. I've seen Dave Tepper, and hopefully will have heard from Dave Tepper since the press conference that introduced Dan Morgan and Dave Canales and the bar incident, which, again, I think was overblown. I think Dave Tepper was just trying to be in the community, and that's the way he decided it was a good idea to do it. It wasn't, but I also think it got overblown like a lot.
I'm seriously hoping you go ask him to come on the air, and he comes on the air, and partway through the interview, he goes, "Oh yeah, by the way, I'm not David Tepper."
Guys, I know what David Tepper looks like. I am a professional. I cover this team for a living. I know who David Tepper is. If I see him and it's him, I'll know it's him. And if it's Lonzo's going to flash you all right now.
Hey, check this out. The Atlanta Braves dropped their third in a row yesterday with a 4-1 loss to the Reds. All-star Ronaldo Lopez took the loss, allowing 7 hits and 4 runs through 6 innings of work. The debut of rookie Nacho Alvarez went poorly as he went 0 for 4 from the plate. Atlanta is now 54-45 and 8.5 back of Philly, but would be in the playoffs at the start of the day. Miami Heat won the NBA Summer League championship yesterday, overcoming the Grizzlies 120-118 in overtime, the most points ever scored in a Summer League championship game. Josh Christopher led the Heat with 24 and won the game's MVP award. Hey, I don't know if you knew this, but we have a brand new local show. It's Wire to Wire. Tune in tonight or this afternoon or evening, wherever you are, 3 to 7 p.m. for said show. Cole and Diesel will get you up to date on the latest in national sports news, all Wire to Wire.
Up to the minute, upstate traffic. The Cordell and Cordell construction cam shows I-85 starting to stack up in both directions. Northbound 85 is backed up about 4 miles with an
Please, let it just be some random old guy.
And Highway 14. Southbound 85 starts.
You guys all want it to be
Highway
too.
101 through Pelham. All other roads and highways through the upstate are clear and running good. From the News Talk 98.9 WORD Traffic Center, I'm Bill Brooks on the
So you got closer and found out it wasn't him,
He's
right?
not here. Okay. I just went looking. Whoever that guy is, he's not in the lobby anymore. I know what David Tepper looks like.
So, yeah, why not say you're 100% sure it was him then? You left some doubt in there.
Because he walked in front of me as I was doing a radio show. And I'm a professional and don't let things distract me from my job.
I'm pretty sure it was Elvis. It might not have been Elvis.
Might have been Jerry Glanville.
Could have been. Rob got closer and turns out it was just Jay Billis. He didn't realize it's not basketball season. Yes, I don't believe Rob has been accosted by ACC Karen, Shane, because he was not Rob Brown yesterday. Today, he's Rob Brown, though.
Well, I will say first and foremost, I have not seen ACC Karen. And ACC Karen is I would be more confident in going that's ACC Karen than I was going that's Dave Tepper.
Really?
Shut up. I regret saying that joke. It was a joke, and I regret the joke. But no, so after yesterday. The room where Jim Phillips was giving his press conference is up the escalator to the left. You got to walk past the TV studio set. And so I took a couple extra seconds to kind of glance around and see if I saw ACC Karen, and I did not see ACC Karen. So ACC Karen may not be with ACC anymore.
Maybe she moved up and now she's SEC Karen.
Ooh, it just matters more. That you shut up. So dumb.
Been a while since I've been in a porta potty. Rob, do they have sinks in there?
What a question. I'm not looking at the stream, so I'm really hoping somebody just asked you that.
No, because we're going to Secret tonight, and I don't think they have set up restrooms. Do they?
They do have stand-up restrooms. Yes.
Okay, I can't remember. They're not troughs, are they? They're not troughs, are they?
Troughs.
Okay,
but
good.
I will also tell you that the lines tend to be a bit long, so I would, as best you can, take care of that particular business before you get to the venue.
What, and hold it for 6 hours?
No, but just try to limit the number.
I don't know if you knew this, but I'm old. When you get old, you can't do that.
Man, check this out.
You're on official Rob Brown lockdown.
Since being real. Yeah.
Manufactured locally for the Carolinas.
Lockdown.
This is the Rob Brown Show. Rob only on
The Fan Upstate.
Entering the third hour of the Rob Brown Show here on the Fan Upstate, live from Charlotte, North Carolina. We are taking you all the way up until 10 o'clock this morning. I am Rob Brown, back in the network studio. The Wizard of Wave, the Sultan of Sound, the Professor of... there's a lot going on in the lobby right now.
There's a guy behind you. I thought he had a chair, but it turns out it was a broom. I was waiting.
Probably Rhett Lashley.
I was like, please.
Probably Rhett Lashley. I had some words for Rhett Lashley earlier in the show, and Lonzo said, I'm just waiting for him to appear behind you with a folding chair, and now I am too. No, we are live at Charlotte, North Carolina, at the ACC's college football kickoff event, a.k.a. Media Days, and getting ready for what is going to happen here on day number 2. The schools represented this afternoon at ACC Media Days: Boston College, Duke, Miami, and Wake Forest. We will wrap up tomorrow with North Carolina, NC State, Syracuse, and Clemson. We have
that's not tomorrow. That's Thursday.
Sorry, Thursday. Today is Cal Pitt, Stanford, Virginia, and Virginia Tech. Tomorrow is Boston College, Duke, Miami, and Wake Forest. And then Thursday will be Clemson, North Carolina, NC State, and Syracuse. So that's the schedule of teams. Also, we'll remind you, for those of you that are following the show, over our week here at ACC Media Days, that Lonzo and I are here today. Cole Bryson and Diesel will be back in studio this afternoon. Tomorrow, Lonzo and I will be off. Maggie and Perloff will carry you through the morning. Diesel and Cole will be live from ACC Media Days tomorrow afternoon. Then on Thursday, Lonzo and I will be back. I will be here Thursday morning covering ACC kickoff, and Cole and Diesel will provide you with wraparound, wrap-up coverage Thursday afternoon from back in the studio. So that is our schedule for the remainder of the week. Lonzo and I will be off on Friday and then return to you on Monday as we get set up for the for the week of NFL. It's still blowing my mind that preseason NFL football is literally next Thursday.
All right, so you're happy about that, right?
I'm stoked about it.
Yeah, I mean,
here's the thing, because I know a lot of people, Lonzo, Here's why I like NFL preseason football. I don't watch NFL preseason football as a fan, even my own team, okay? I don't watch it as a fan. I watch NFL preseason football as a football dude. I watch NFL preseason football from the standpoint of somebody that is wanting to know how the third string running back fits into this offense, right? Like Xavier Worthy is the guy to watch for Kansas City, because I've already told Lonzo, if Xavier Worthy is him, if he's a dude, if he's the best Xavier at wide receiver in the NFL, the Chiefs are three-peating. I also believe sincerely that if Xavier Worthy is not a dude, if he is not him, the Chiefs are not three-peating this year. I don't think they have the top off the defense spot that they need to be able to pull guys away from Travis Kelce and let him be that guy in the middle. Xavier Worthy is that team. Xavier Worthy and the offensive line are that team. Not that we're going to get great read in week ones in preseason game ones, though, but I think we'll get a
You keep skipping the fact that they also picked up Hollywood Brown, and they still have a guy who's probably going to play the season because even though he was arrested, they haven't really done anything. And there's a big reason to watch preseason. A very big reason.
If you don't, you're disrespectful.
Well, no, this has nothing to do with the Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh, okay.
Kickoffs, dude. Don't we want to see how that's going to work?
That's a great call.
So preseason, that's where we're going to get to see our first look at what the kickoffs are going to look like and decide whether we hate it or not.
That's a freaking great call from the great one. He is exactly right. And we talked about it, I think, late last week. The special teams coordinator for the New York Jets, who are in camp, by the way, the special teams coordinator of the New York Jets said a few days ago that it's going to be experiment. It's going to be an experiment. It is going to be a lot of trial and error. It is going to be a lot of development. It's going to be a lot of experimentation. It's going to be a lot of trying to figure out, if I move this guy there, I put this guy there, I have this guy do this, I have that guy do that. If I put this type of personnel there, I put it to Lonzo last week. I said, look, I sat at the house as a nowhere a ball not too long ago, and I was like, all right, let me come up with as many unique and distinct kickoff possibilities, kickoff protocols as I can. And I came up with a bunch. One of the ones is to rely on wingers, right? Like a soccer formation. I put my fastest, strongest tacklers on the outside, right? I'm talking about my best cover corners. I'm putting them on the outside. You have one job. Your job is, once the kickoff return man catches the ball. Your job is to Xavier Worthy as quickly as you can down the sideline. Your job is to make sure that you set that edge and turn it in on itself. And then in the middle, I'm putting 2 more DBs right in the middle. I'm putting my best open field tacklers right in the middle. And then I'm putting everybody else between 2 inside DBs and 2 outside DBs. I'm putting middle linebackers across the middle. Middle linebackers, outside linebackers, Mike Sams, whatever. I'm putting them in between. And what I'm saying is, soon as the receiver catches the ball, 2 outside guys, I want you running your best 40 speed down the field. And I want you setting the edge and turning it in, right? I want you collapsing the field. I don't want a touchdown allowed down the sideline. Then I want my linebackers, I want you when he catches the ball to get down the field, and I want you to fan out. And then I'm going to have 2 defensive backs that are by the kicker. They are going to hitch for just a second after the receiver catches the ball. They're going to wait. They're going to hold up. They're going to hitch. And then once he has the ball, then you take off. And basically, I want you playing center fielder. I want you reading blocks. I want you reading the direction that the running back's going to go. If he goes over to the left, I want the guy on the right to rotate up, the guy to slide over behind him. If they go to the other side, I want the guy on the left to slide up to try to find out where that is going to go. And I want the dude on the right to fill in behind him and react to which direction he is being blocked in, right? That was on the fly. And I think what's interesting is a lot of the strategery, a lot of the strategy so far has been tried out. This has been the kickoff model of the UFL and the USFL for years now, right? But I would also say that much like the UFL and the USFL, Lonzo, there are things in terms of offensive strategery in those 2 games that you can't do, that you can do at the NFL level, and you can do it at the NFL level because you just have better talent, right? You just have better and more talent to do it with. Well, now we have NFL talent. Now I think you can play a little bit more. So while we have kind of a list of core strategies and fundamentals and options here for kickoff teams that you can carry over from the UFL and USFL and XFL and whatever other FLs you're talking about, now you have the best football players on planet Earth, which I think allows you to experiment and adjust even more. And preseason is your experimentation phase. This is where you don't want to get to week 1 and still be working out your thoughts on what a kickoff looks like. That is a great call, Zoe. That might be the number 1 reason to watch preseason football, TBH.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it because I don't even remember who's playing in the Hall of Fame game. I don't think I was very interested until now because of the kickoff. I want to see what happens with it.
The Hall of Fame game this year is Houston and Chicago.
All right, never mind. I am interested.
C.J. Stroud versus Caleb Williams.
Yeah, more about the C.J. Stroud.
No, I know.
Caleb Williams is going to see what a mistake Chicago made even in the preseason.
You have more than qualified for the definition of stan when it comes to C.J. Stroud. Like whatever, you're a level above stan for the former.
No, it's not that. It's for the Buckeyes in general, which is the reason why I have disdain for Chicago. If you think about it, it's twofold with that game.
You have disdain for Chicago
because their former quarterback, who is no longer there, who's in
Justin
Pittsburgh,
Fields,
was also an Ohio State player. And so they dissed him. So now I want Chicago to lose all their games.
They dissed him.
Because we have reasons why we want people to lose. I mean, of course I want Kansas City to win all the games. Believe it or not, I also want Carolina to win all their games because they're my NFC team. Everybody else, I don't care. But I do find teams that I don't like.
Wait a minute. Carolina disrespected C.J. Stroud by drafting Bryce Young first. You should want them to lose all their games.
Yeah, but
they
were my team before that. There are some sub rules that go into play.
Oh,
yeah,
gotcha. So
like you don't have them. You don't have them.
It's like Rule 1, Section A, Paragraph 1. Thou shalt respect the Buckeyes. Rule 1, Subsection A, or Paragraph 1, Subsection A, unless thou art already my favorite team. But
it's subsection B. But yeah, that's the rule.
Okay, I gotta write these down. I got to write these down.
Oh, they're written down. There's a book. It's been in the office. It's been right next to your desk. It's collecting dust. I asked you to look at it, but you just won't.
The Lonzo's rules of. I thought you weren't an arbiter. You're
I'm not.
arbiting.
I'm not arbiting. No.
All right. By the way, I have not seen maybe David Tepper again since that happened. All right.
Wait. You can't be saying maybe.
I said I'm 90% sure it was Dave Tepper, but I have not seen that individual again since then, so I can't say for certain yet or not. 90% sure.
Well, I'm glad I'm not there, because if I was, you would have me go see if that was Dave Tepper.
Correct. If it was you, I'd have had you running over there while I was doing what I had to do.
And I would have said, no, Mark, I'm not doing that. Anyway.
I'd have done it for you. But I guess that's just
I would do anything for you, Rob, but I won't.
You just said you won't.
But I won't do that.
You won't go talk to Dave Tepper.
But I won't do that. Yes.
All right, we are live in Charlotte, North Carolina for ACC kickoff, aka ACC Media Days. So we are underway. Got a chance yesterday. We talked about this back in the first hour. I kind of want to bring it up again, mainly because I find it interesting. I've got my theories. I don't know if either one of them, both of them, neither of them are correct. But if you missed the story going back to the first hour of the show, yesterday were three teams: SMU, Georgia Tech, and Florida State University. We got our list of scheduled interviews, and on it, we had a SMU player. We had Rhett Lashley. He is, of course, the head coach of SMU. And we had Brent Key, the head coach at Georgia Tech. Big fan, by the way. We did not have a single Seminole of Florida State listed on our interview appointments. Now, that's very odd because everybody gets at least one guy from each school, right? Like, that's one of the things they tell you. You'll get one guy. We can guarantee you one. Outside of that, it's kind of hit or miss based on availability, based on your geographic proximity to the schools in question. Like, we're getting all the Clemson guys on Thursday. I'm getting all three players and Dabo Swinney on Thursday because we're in the footprint. So we get those guys. The further you are away from the schools, the less likely to get more guys. Anyway, I went over to talk to the director of media relations for the ACC, Brendan McGinnis. Great guy. He's been here working his butt off the last 4 years. Fantastic guy. Went over to talk to him, and I said, hey, I know we're booked. I know you're busy. I know it's late. We didn't get any Noles. If we could get a Florida State guy in here, I'd be very appreciative. I said, Pat Payton, defensive end, Mike Norvell, if he's got any availability. Because, as the days progress, stations come and go. They're on the air. They're not on the air. Like, right now there's 3 shows working right now. So what will happen is that they bring guys down and they're scheduled for one of those interviews, and that radio station's not here, or they're filled up, or they got something else booked or whatever. They'll just scratch them off the list, and then they'll just ask around. Hey, we got 8 minutes with Mike Norvell. Would you like him? Yeah, for sure. Bring him on over, and you do the interview, right? So I walked over and I said, hey, no Florida State guys. If there's any availability, if any of them come open, I'd love to get a Nole on here to talk a little bit about, last year and how that moves into this year. And Brandon said to me, the Florida State said that they are not doing interviews with any Clemson stations this year. They're not doing any interviews with any Clemson stations this year. And I said, none? And he said, nope. He said, don't take it personally. It's a business decision, nothing personal, but they're not doing any interviews with any Clemson stations. Now, as Lonzo clearly identified when we talked about this back in the first hour of the show, we're not a Clemson station.
Yeah, I'm still ticked about it, by the way.
We are an upstate sports station. If anything, we're a Furman Paladin station, all right? We're not a Clemson station. But I would also point out that the one thing that you can't argue with is a map. We're in the Clemson footprint. We're in Clemson's geographical proximity. We are here at this event to cover this event for and of Clemson. That is what it is. So I floated 2 theories at you, and I'm gonna roll this into the next segment as well because I know we're right up on the break. But I'm gonna float 2 theories. Theory number 1 that I had is this is connected to those lawsuits, right? This is connected to those lawsuits. This is Florida State knowing that if they were to come in here and they were to have a player pop off at the mouth about it, or Mike Norvell say something inappropriate about it, or whatever, that it could make those lawsuits more difficult. And if there is a school in this conference that considers itself a rival of Florida State outside of the University of Miami, it's obviously Clemson, right? Those two schools doing battle with each other. Those two schools are, I think, going to be playing twice next year, once in the regular season, once in the ACC title game. We'll find out if I am correct. But it makes sense to me, to some degree, that they would not want to risk a situation where Florida State, being pressured by a Clemson media member, not me, but others, that Florida State being pressured by a Clemson media member might have a player or a coach that maybe steps over a line and makes that a lot tougher. Because I do think that while we can sit here and talk about the lawsuits and there's just kind of like, oh, it's another day talking about lawsuits, that's because it's not our money on the line. You were talking about hundreds of millions of dollars that are wrapped up in these events, right? Hundreds of millions of dollars that if one thing gets said to the wrong guy at the wrong time, in the wrong context, whatever, a judge might hear it, read that line, and go, oh, okay, well, ain't that big of a deal then, right? This lawsuit's dismissed. And now either FSU and Clemson are screwed and they're in this thing till 2036 no matter how bad it goes, or flip it over. The ACC gets screwed. And a judge goes, you know what, Florida State? You know what, Clemson? And therefore also North Carolina and Miami and NC State and Virginia and Virginia Tech and whoever else. Yep, they kind of ticked me off. You're free to go. And now they don't get their exit fee. And now the ACC is cooked, toast, dead, finito, right? So that makes sense. The other theory that got floated was this to protect DJ Uiagalelei. When we come back, speaking of one-liners that kind of meant something to me, there was one from Jim Phillips yesterday. Let's talk about what the commish had to say on the Rob Brown Show, live from ACC Media Days. This is the Fan Upstate.
QC.
This is the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
What's that?
You slamming whatever it was on the microphone.
I didn't intend to.
Also, someone bumped the table while you were gone and did the
Cool.
same thing. Yeah. I think it was a dude with a trash can. I just looked up and saw it going by at the last second.
I see it with the trash can, but also
No, this was a while ago.
Oh, gotcha.
Could have been luggage.
Guess what I just went and got.
Food.
Bacon.
Ah.
So all of you on the stream are going to get to watch me eat bacon.
Was that allowed for you? Okay. All right. Good thing to know.
I'm technically in maintenance now because I'm at my goal weight.
Oh, okay. All right. Just remember, everyone's watching. I'm just saying. So, food spread compared to the other place. Not as good? Okay.
Not even in the game.
Is it like the difference between a hotel and a motel? I mean, is it? Okay. All right.
It's not. Okay. It's not bad. Like, if you were just staying in a hotel, like on your way through town, and you came down and it was the breakfast that was available, you'd be like, yeah, it's pretty good. Like it's pretty standard. It's like scrambled eggs, French toast. Which
If you really want to go into the subject,
Your smart speaker.
Pretty
Just
good
play
stuff,
97
but
The
it's
Fan
not
Upstate
plastic.
on your HD radio.
10 seconds. New life in the next break.
WIZZ
There's just one more thing.
And on your computer at The Fan.
FanUpstate.com.
Listen on the Odyssey app. Search The Fan Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show continues. It's the Fan Upstate. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. The great one, Lonzo, back in the network studio. I am Rob Brown. We are glad to have you here on the show. A lot going on, a lot to talk about. We have kicked it around. I want to get to the comments yesterday from one Jim Phillips. Of course, Jim Phillips, the commissioner of the Atlantic Coast Conference, gave his State of the Conference address yesterday here in Charlotte, North Carolina. And wouldn't you know it, what did he get asked about more than anything else? Lawsuits. Lawsuits, 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 lawsuits. Why wouldn't he? If the ACC can't find a way to keep Clemson and Florida State in the mix, and it's about those two schools right now, yes. Is it only about those schools? No. Because, again, they've got to force Clemson and Florida State legally to stay in. The train has left the station in terms of coming up with a way to keep FSU and Clemson happy and within the conference. That's gone. Cole Bryson yesterday and I were having this conversation about that. He's like, is there a way that the ACC can come back? He said, what Rob Brown, what happens if this year the ACC ends up with like a 13-0 team?
I have to interrupt. Come back. So there was a year when the ACC was dominant and was a main conference?
Not in terms of football, financially.
Okay.
Right?
All right.
Not
All
in
right.
terms of
I
football
just
financially.
that confused me for
The
a
answer
moment.
is yes. There have been some years where the ACC was a pretty damn good football conference. Was it ever the SEC or the Big Ten? Let me scratch that. The Big Ten's not that good. It's super top heavy. Let's be real clear. There's two teams in that conference, just like this one. Okay, just like this one.
They just added some pretty good teams. So
Correct.
one of which I believe Oregon is ranked pretty high.
I'm pretty pumped to watch Dan Lanning and the Ducks come in there, knock Michigan off the map, and potentially take the crown from the Buckeyes this year. It's on the table, okay? It's on the table. But up until this year, forget that. Let's come back. I'm not getting into conference smack talk right now, as much fun as it is.
So you just did, but
I know,
okay.
as much fun as it is. Let's. Cole was not talking about football. He was talking about financially. Is there a path? Is there a path for the ACC to make enough money to stay viable? Because keep in mind, it's not just that the SEC in 4 or 5 years is going to be paying double the money to the schools the ACC is. It's not just that the Big Ten will be doing the same thing. It's that right now, theoretically, The Big 12, you know, the Geico 12, the Buc-ee's 12, the Waffle House 12, that 12 is going to, assuming the private equity investment plan that they are setting up is to come to fruition. That conference is likely going to be able to pay more to its member institutions than this conference is. And Cole said, yo, is there any way back from this, right? Is there any way for the ACC to at least be able to match up with the Big 12 in terms of the financial payout? And I said, keeping it a buck? I don't think so. I don't think, unless they go the private equity direction as well. But here's the problem you have. Not for a second do I, and nor should you, believe all this talk that the Big Ten and the Southeastern Conference don't want Clemson and Florida State. All right? I got a million reasons why they would say that they don't, and 0 reasons that they actually don't. I told Cole this yesterday. I'll say it again here. I've probably broken down on the show, but in case I haven't, let me do it just right now. These lawsuits are worth hundreds of millions of dollars now. If, and I am not a lawyer, all right, I'm just a fat idiot with a microphone. If the Big Ten or the SEC was to make an offer, open the door, help pick up the phone and call the athletic directors at these schools and say, we are interested. We're interested. I have been told there is the potential for the ACC, as they are involved in lawsuits with both of those schools, they would have the possibility on the table that the ACC could sue the 2 major schools under some sort of tampering rule, under some sort of tampering violation, tampering, whatever. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know what statutes are out there that could come into play. I don't know how any of this looks. What I know is that is something that the big conferences are at least wary of, right? They're at least acknowledging of that. So it's not like they would want to sit here and say, yeah, we'll see when it's all over, because we'll see when it's all over kind of opens up the door to maybe consider that a semi-invitation, right? If you ask out a real pretty girl and she says, yeah, we'll see. I don't know about you. It happened to me a lot in my life. You know what my reaction was to that? She didn't say no.
She did not say no.
She didn't say no. I'm in the game, boys. Now I just got to play it well, right? So you can make the argument. What's the way that you prevent that from happening? If you're the SEC, if you're the Big Ten, you go, no. Because, if you go ask the pretty girl, hey, can I take you out to dinner one night? And she looks at you and she goes, I have no interest in you. None. You're gross. I don't like you. You pretty much know where you stand. Now, I know a lot of dudes that still wouldn't stop them, but in this case, at least the knowledge is out there that you're not wanted, right? So, of course, it would therefore make sense for the SEC and the Big Ten to say, no, we're not interested, so that they can, if the ACC was ever to look into this, they can go, whoa, we literally said in the public many times, we're not interested in those 2 schools. If they are leaving the ACC, they are leaving you because they want to leave you, not because they want to date me, right? Like, that's the difference between getting dumped and getting cheated on, right? If you get dumped, you go look and you go, they left because they didn't want you. If they cheat on you, they left you because they wanted somebody else more. And that's kind of the spot you're in. The Big Ten and the SEC are going, whoa, if they leave you, they're leaving you. They're not leaving because they want us or we want them. They're leaving you. And then down the line, the minute they get out, then the Big Ten can call up Florida State and go, we need a footprint down there. We can give you a lot of money. And Florida State can go, great, see you in the fall, whatever. So that whole thing is very interesting. Yesterday, Jim Phillips got asked about that a lot of times. And one of the lines that he said, quote, Forceful moments deserve forceful support and leadership. This is a really important time for the conference. Either you believe in what has been signed or you don't. We are going to do everything we can to protect and fight for the league. The conference is bigger than any one school or schools. All right. First off, there's an old expression you may have heard before. A chain is only as strong as its weakest link. This conference is in a world of hurt, y'all. I heard this conference described by at least 6 different media members yesterday as a dead conference. And I said, it's not dead. It's dying. There's a difference. You bury it when it's dead. When it's dying, you all gather around and you talk about it and you celebrate it and you have memories of the good times. That's where we are. That's what we're doing. I'm going to tell you the truth. As somebody who's been here for now, this is my second show, going on my 16th hour of being in this building for ACC Media Days. Do you know what's happening here right now? I'll tell you what's happening here right now. What's happening here right now is like a celebration of life. You know, like it's not a funeral. It's a celebration of life. We're all standing around remembering the good times that we all had together, because I've also heard a number of people go, I hope you all have a good time. We're not doing this again next year. Now, I think that's incorrect. I think we are doing it again next year, because I don't think that Florida State and Clemson are going to sign the exit notification to the ACC. Why? Because then they're on the hook for hundreds of millions of dollars. And I don't think playing even in the Big Ten or the SEC, if they catch an invite, pays that off anytime soon. And there's no sense in taking on that burden when you've got the lawsuits going that may get you that victory for next year. So I think Florida State and Clemson are back next year. I think the ACC is alive next year. I'm also going to tell you that I think when we do this event next year, I think then I'll say we won't be back next year. I don't think we'll be back after that. I think next year is going to be the last run, because when those two schools get out and they show the path out to North Carolina and Miami, and the North Carolina legislature says, yo, Heels, wherever you go, you take the pack with you. And the pack goes. And then Duke's going to look around and they're going to go, I'm lonely, so lonely, nobody loves me. Where do they go? Wherever they catch an invite. Big 12, maybe the Big 10 says, hey, we're kind of becoming a basketball conference too. Why don't you bring your basketball brand to us, Duke? Whatever. They're gone, right? And then you're sitting there. And by the way, I think Virginia and Virginia Tech would both catch Big 10 invites as well. I think they'd be good additions. Maybe SEC invites. I don't know. But you're going to be sitting there with Boston College, Cal, Georgia Tech, Louisville, Pitt, SMU, Stanford, and Syracuse. That's not a viable conference, guys. That's not. I think this conference has 2 more years of football, and then the ACC is done. We'll talk more about it on the flip side. Rob Alonzo and you. The Rob Brown Show rolls on after this. It is the Fan Upstate.
101.7 FM Greenville, 97.1 FM Spartanburg.
From the Free Odyssey. Now, the Infinity Sports Network. Up on the text line.
71307. Keyword fan.
You're listening to the Rob Brown Show. Only
Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show continues, wrapping up hour number 3, live from Charlotte, North Carolina, home of ACC kickoff. ACC Media Days underway as we speak. I'm starting to see more guys and gals in suits and dresses show up, so that means we are just about an hour away from the beginning of today's festivities, and we will obviously keep you up to date on what's said by whomst as the day continues here in Charlotte. We were having a conversation in the last segment about the lawsuits. We were having a conversation about the financial viability and, frankly, competitive viability of this conference moving forward. And like I said, I mean, I don't like it. Please understand that I grew up around ACC football. I grew up an hour and 45 minutes away from Tallahassee, Florida. I grew up watching Florida State. I grew up with, that was the closest school that I could go watch big time football at. And my old man and a couple of his best friends, all football guys, loved to take the boys to go watch football. And Florida State was the closest place. At the time, my University of West Florida Argonauts did not have a program yet. So you wanted to go to a college football game, you went over to Tallahassee to watch the Noles. That's just what it was, right? So I grew up around ACC football. And then on top of that, obviously, now that I'm here covering Clemson, there's a history to it that's nice to fall on. There's a history to it you're familiar with. It is going to be different when we are saying, all right, coming up this weekend, big Big Ten matchup going down between the Clemson Tigers and the Rutgers. We're going Rutgers? Clemson Rutgers is our Big Ten, is our conference rivalry matchup this week, right? I get it. The whole concept here, and I said this to Cole yesterday. I said this on Wire to Wire. I said this on this show. The majority of the problem with what's happening right now is a big part of the problem surrounding what goes on in politics. And that is, there's two schools of thought to any situation that you approach. One of them is logical and one of them is emotional. All right? That's just the way it is. You can look at something logically, you can look at it emotionally. And you're very lucky if those two things line up with each other. You're very fortunate if something is both logical and emotionally good for you. It happens. It's nice. Unfortunately, when it comes to anything involving money, those two things very rarely line up with each other, right? I mean, let's fundamentally boil down to its core what this is. Everybody wants more money. Welcome to the real world, kids. Everybody wants more money. Emotionally, we all know what we want out of college football. Emotionally, of course, we want our traditional rivalries. Emotionally, of course, we want our geographical rivalries. But let me ask you this. In 2024, when getting teams from hither to yon and back again is as easy, as efficient as it's ever been, right? Let's call it what it is. What was that look for? Is it because I said hither and yon?
Oh no, I use hither, thither, and yon on Saturdays all the time.
Oh, yeah, making sure.
I was say that. That was it was a look of acknowledgement. Like, yeah, he gets it. Yeah.
So
I don't say that often, but yeah, he gets it.
As we have made getting teams hither and yon as efficient as it's ever been, the reason geographical rivalries were geographical rivalries back in the day is what? Because it cost you more money to get a team from one side of the country to the other back when the primary form of transportation was a bus, right? It didn't make economic sense for Clemson to go up to New Jersey It certainly didn't make sense for them to go to Stanford or Dallas, Texas to play Cal and Stanford and SMU, right? It did not make sense. Now it does. Now you can put it in these schools own their own jet. Clemson right now, I heard this yesterday. I got to go verify this, but I'm going to go ahead and trust the word of the person who told it to me. Well, so Clemson is selling a private jet that they used exclusively for recruiting in years gone by. Just selling jets, right? These teams have this. They can do this sort of thing now. And granted...
Wait. So they're no longer recruiting?
No, they still recruit. They got a new jet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. I thought maybe something had changed, and now they're just going to use exclusively the transfer portal, so they need a plane.
Yeah, that's it. Now they got new jets, right? So with all of these things being said, I think you just have to accept the reality that college football does operate at a 0% capacity when it comes to the emotion of the game. And the harder thing yet to recognize is that when these people that are in charge of college football tell you that's what they're doing, they are lying. Okay? They are lying. Jim Phillips is not fighting these lawsuits because he's really super concerned about the legacy of the league. He's fighting the lawsuits because the lawsuits could cost this conference a lot of money and could cost this conference ultimately the ability to have its own existence. That's it. I every time I have one of these conversations, I was listening to Cole and Diesel yesterday. They were talking about it. I was listening to Mark Ryan on the new Infinity Sports Network this past weekend. He was talking about it. I was listening to 3 different radio stations down my row here at Radio Row yesterday talking about it. And as I had these conversations with people, I've said to all of them, I said again and again and again, all these debates that you're having, sure they're compelling, sure they're interesting, they make for good radio, and that's all well and fun. They're all emotional. None of that. Why is college football doing this? To make more money. That's it. Yeah. 99% of the time, it's to make more money. Well, why would the ACC bring on board Stanford and Cal and SMU? They're not even close. To make more money, right? Now, or to protect the money that they already have, right? For instance, I told this to Diesel yesterday. Diesel and I fist bumped on this because we were both reaching the same observation at the same time.
Wow, that's just so special.
We came to the conclusion. I came to this conclusion friggin' months ago, right? Stanford is here, SMU is here, and Cal is here. Why are Stanford, SMU, and Cal here? Do you think it's because those 3 schools are going to add tens of millions of dollars to the ACC's bottom line? No, they're not. They'll add some. They'll add value for sure. They're going to, especially Stanford. That's going to add a ton of value having them in the fold. SMU, if they ever return to former glory down there in Dallas, Texas, you think the folks down in Dallas can't scrap up a couple of dollars for the SMU NIL fund to start getting some folks down to the Big D? And I do mean Dallas. Yeah, they're going to add some value to the brand, ain't no doubt. But those 3 teams aren't here because they bring exceptional value to the brand. Those 3 teams are here because if the ACC adds 3 more teams, what can't the rest of the teams in the ACC do? They cannot vote to disband the conference. Remember, when this conference was sitting at a dozen teams, you needed 7. You needed a supermajority. You needed 7 votes to disband the conference. You know Florida State would have. You know Clemson would have. You know Miami would have. You know North Carolina would have. There's 4. I need to talk 3 more schools. Hey, NC State, we promise, as the Tar Heels of North Carolina, we'll take you with us. There's 5. Hey, Duke, we promise we'll take you 2. There's 6. Now I need 1 more vote somewhere. Well, guess what? Now you added 3 more teams. Now there's way more teams. And now that number of necessary teams goes up. You think SMU, Cal, and Stanford are voting to disband a conference that they quite literally just joined? The ACC added these 3 schools because, yes, they do add some value, but more importantly, they added the number of votes it would require of FSU and Clemson to disband the conference. It made that number a number that they cannot achieve. That's what this was. That's all it was. They're not here because they're a big brand value. They're not here because they make the competition in the league better. Although, honestly, I think SMU might. I think SMU is going to be a pretty decent team this year. They're here to stop FSU and Clemson from politicking enough to get Miami and North Carolina and NC State and Duke and just one more team to push the button that would have discarded the ACC's existence because they knew they were going somewhere, and to hell with everybody else. That's why I'm apprehensive about this conference. Not because I think it's going to be bad football. Honestly, I think it's going to be pretty good football this fall. I think Florida State is going to be in the playoffs. I think Clemson is going to be in the playoffs. I think Miami could sneak into that 11-12 spot. I think SMU is a team that could ruin some seasons. I think Georgia Tech's going to be surprisingly better under Haynes King and Brent Key this year. Louisville's going to move the ball up and down the field and score a ton of points this year. I think the football in the ACC is going to be pretty good this year. Not SEC caliber, not Big Ten caliber, but of course it's not. Look at the rosters those conferences put together. I do think it'll be pretty good. And then I think it ain't going to matter. It ain't going to matter because Vanderbilt is going to get paid dramatically more money than Florida State and Clemson. Because pick me, your random bottom feeder of choice in the Big Ten is going to get paid. Rutgers is going to get paid more money than Florida State and Clemson. That's why everything is happening right now. That's not a question. That's not an opening for a debate. That is a statement of fact and nothing less. Is it too early for Lonzo to sports flash us, or do we need to go another minute?
Let's do it.
All right, good. Ladies and gentlemen, I have to go take a break because I've just emotionally upset myself, okay? So when we come back in the last hour, we're off tomorrow. Let's get weird. Let's pretend it's Friday after Lonzo flashes us.
Shouldn't have shown weakness. He's going to keep doing that. The Atlanta Braves dropped their third in a row yesterday with a 4-1 loss to the Cincinnati Reds. All-star Ronaldo Lopez took the loss, allowing 7 hits and 4 runs through 6 innings of work. The debut of rookie Nacho Alvarez went poorly as he went 0 for 4 on the plate. Atlanta is now 54-45 at 8.5 back of Philly. Team USA has selected its flag bearer for the opening ceremonies on Thursday night of the Olympics. 39-year-old NBA superstar LeBron James will carry the Stars and Stripes into Paris as he and the men's basketball team seek to win its 5th consecutive gold medal in the Summer Games. Hey, tune in this afternoon from 3 to 7 p.m. for our brand new local show, Wire to Wire. Cole Bryson and Diesel get you up to date on the latest local and national sports news, great guests, great debate, and a whole lot of fun. It's all Wire to Wire.
Up to the minute, upstate traffic. The Cordell and Cordell construction cam shows things are improving along I-85. Northbound 85 is at 22 miles an hour between exit 51 South Carolina 146 Woodruff Road and exit 54 Pelham. The backup is about 3 miles. Southbound, you'll hit the brakes at the 101 and stay slow through Pelham. 185, 385, 26, and 585 are all problem-free. From the News Talk 98.9 WORD Traffic Center, I'm Bill Brooks on the Fan Upstate.
Is arthritic joint pain keeping you from doing the things you love? Bone-on-bone pain in your knees, hips, back, or shoulders? Hey, it's Charlie James. There are exciting new cellular therapies that can get you lasting relief. QC Kinetics is helping patients like you every day. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in advanced regenerative medicine. I'm talking cutting-edge treatments that accelerate your own body's healing properties, revitalizing your joints so you can move again. They've helped so many people here and tens of thousands more around the country. If you're living with chronic pain from arthritis or injury, you need to know steroids and surgery and pain pills are no longer your only options. Learn how QC Kinetics can treat the pain, enhance your joints, restore your mobility, and give you long-term relief with no downtime. This is the future of medicine. Call for a free consultation now. 864-448-3772. That's 864-448-3772 in Greenville and in Asheville. 864-448-3772.
Did you know Greenville County Animal Care has cats and dogs just waiting to find their forever family? When you adopt from Greenville County Animal Care, you're getting an animal who has been spayed or neutered, is microchipped, and is up to date on vaccinations. Most pets can be brought home the same day you adopt. We do charge a small fee to adopt a pet to help us help more animals, but sometimes we have adoption specials and the fees are waived. As a service to veterans, all adoptions are free. Visit greenvillepets.org to learn more.
Some people just know the best rate for you is a rate based on you with Allstate. not a rate based on Terry who keeps, and makes the car behind them. Oh no, they're about to. Save with DriveWise and the Allstate app and only pay a rate based on you.
Not available in every state, subject to terms and conditions. Rating factors and savings vary, and in some states your rate could increase with high-risk driving. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Brakes? We can save you 15% on that. We have OE quality Duralast brake pads and rotors in stock, ready for pickup or delivery. We also have calipers, brake fluid, tools, and anything else you'll need to do the job right. When you get Duralast pads and rotors together, you'll save 15%. It's just part of what makes us America's #1 brakes destination.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
To wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson. Turn on, leave on.
Oh, we go to the phone lines. We bring in Kevin, longtime Tolo of the show. Kevin, what's your thoughts?
You can go to practice and practice hard, but you're really getting better once you get home. You get home, and when you're doing that underlying work that don't nobody see, and now you coming out, now you got 8 picks in a season, or you done caught 12 touchdowns because you putting that work. But then
So tomorrow, when you're recovering, if I'm looking at this correctly, there is Olympic soccer on.
Yes.
And you never really get a
Soccer
camaraderie
tournament
with
usually
nobody.
starts
So
3 or
every
4
year
days
that you hit,
before.
You chasing money and you chasing playing time. But hey,
Yeah, looks like quite a few, including your favorite, Uzbekistan
Big
versus Spain.
Uzbekistan guy.
Yeah, yeah. Argentina versus, also known as Argentina versus Morocco.
Upstate.
Rugby going on
It's the Rob
tomorrow.
Brown Show.
I'm gonna tell you right now,
The driver of the number
Olympic
7
rugby
Chevrolet
is
for
the
Spire
best.
Motorsports. He is Corey LaJoy joining us here on the show. Dude, I was watching you have a
Let's
freaking
see.
ball.
There's
with this team last year.
12
My
matches.
question is,
Probably watch
getting
that.
back
Some of
on
it's going to be on
skates with
USA,
water
like at
with the
11
boys this
a.m.
year?
And also, I believe Peacock has the streaming rights. So
last year, so I'm going to try to find that guy and get some payback.
I respect that. What is worse, hitting the wall out of turn 4 at 180 or getting put into the boards by a power?
Thursday at 6:30 a.m. men's soccer, France versus USA.
Thursday morning at 6:30.
Yep.
Let's go.
That way you'll be depressed before the show is over. You won't be able to watch it though while you're doing the show, will you?
Try.
I mean, I guess you could just throw it up on your phone. I mean,
Yeah, you know, honestly, what I'll probably do is bring a spare computer monitor on an HD into a sports.
there you go. You're gonna like swipe it out of the hotel room. I mean, or you just carry one around with
I'm
you.
going back to Greenville before I come back here.
Oh, that's true. I didn't even think about that.
WORD Spartanburg.
WFPC HD3 Greenville, the official sports voice of you, the Upstate fan.
Tomorrow, Argentina and Morocco.
Friday.
Your unofficial Rob
Well,
Brown
actually, you're gonna be off. I'll still be here. We have it on in the office while I'm watching. Or while I'm
for
watching.
the Carolinas.
Got some more soccer and women and men Friday.
Lonzo has just made me a very, very happy fella because not only, we were already juiced because the NFL's Hall of Fame game, preseason kickoff, is a week from Thursday. Okay, we are 9 days away from the NFL. 9 days away from the NFL preseason getting underway. But wait, there's more. Not only are we just 9 days away from the NFL's preseason getting underway. And by the way, it is a bit of a tease, great one, because we have that game Thursday, but then we have to wait another week for the next NFL preseason game, which is, disappointing. But I'll take a taste. I need a taste. Just give me a taste. And then
a lot of people only watch one football game, and it's their team, so they're used to watching one game, and then the next week rolls around, they watch another game.
Yeah, well,
so we'll just live in their world for 1 week.
If there's one thing that's been said to both you and I many times over the course of our careers, we're not normal. So
We're not, but you know what? We've got another thing that we can, be checking out when there's no football. So, I mean,
not only has Lonzo reminded me this glorious, glorious Tuesday morning that NFL football kicks off a week from Thursday, But on top of that, something I am equally as excited for, Fight Me tomorrow. I love you tomorrow. You're only a day away. The Olympics start tomorrow. Now, the opening ceremony is not till Thursday night. The opening ceremonies are Thursday night. However, the Olympics start tomorrow. Why? Because there are 2 tournaments that get their start 2 days before so that they can fit all of the group play in because these tournaments take a little bit of extra time. Those soccer and rugby tournaments begin tomorrow. We open up Group B play with Argentina coming off of not just a World Cup victory, but a CONCACAF Gold Cup victory as well. Argentina takes on a very young upstart Morocco team. Then the Spaniards, coming off of their Euro 2024 victory, will take on Uzbekistan. And then at 9, no, it's not 9:30. I got to get my time zones right. The Olympic thing doesn't give me the correct time zone. It's just, whatever. It doesn't matter. I don't care. Whatever time in the morning it is.
It says EDT, which would be Eastern Daylight Time, which is what we're on.
I'm on the official Olympics page, and it does not have.
Well, you need to go to NBCOlympics.com and their schedule.
Attaboy.
Because that's where I went.
That's why we keep you around. Great one.
And they have all EDTs on it, which is even better for us.
I like some EDTs. So we do have the soccer tournaments firing up tomorrow, as well as the Rugby Sevens tournament. I'm going to tell you right now, dude, I get jacked up about a little rugby, all right? I get a little jacked up about some rugby. So we've got Intro to Paris tomorrow. We've got Argentina and Morocco in footy on tomorrow afternoon, or tomorrow morning. Then we got firing up at 1:30 in the morning, Malai versus Israel in footy. Lonzo, you didn't tell me this either. 3 a.m. Thursday, women's handball tournament gets started.
Yeah, I didn't think you'd be up at 3 a.m. I did see it, but I didn't think you would be up.
I'm going to tell you this.
All right, you should not be up.
My standard answer for when somebody says, hey, you moved to the morning show, how do you like it? My go-to jokey ha-ha answer that I give to everybody is, well, it depends on what time of the day you ask me. If you ask me at 3:30 in the morning, I hate everyone and everything. If you ask me at noon when my day's over, I kind of love it, right? It's just, it depends. This is going to be the best 2.5 weeks of having to be awake at 3:30 in the morning because we're going to get to watch most of the Olympics live. We're going to be in this. Alonzo and I are going to be in the studio. I'm going to go ahead and tell you now, I'm bringing one of the small TVs from the house to the studio. We're going to have 6 screens in that studio watching as much Olympics as we can get our eyes on.
Monday at 6 a.m., there's beach volleyball, there's golf, there's windsurfing, there's shooting, there's tennis. All this stuff is going on at 6 o'clock that you can watch online. Just everything at 6 a.m. Beach volleyball, field hockey. I know you love that.
I do love some field hockey.
Everything going around 6 a.m. So, I mean, you could get multiple screens going up in here.
No love for some badminton going down over the weekend.
I didn't look at the weekend. Now I'm going to have to check that out.
Keep going. You got some soccer through the weekend. We got badminton. By the way, this is only the triathlon and basketball, women's basketball. Oh, you know what we have not gotten to? The WNBA. The WNBA All-Stars kicked the crap You want eyes. Hey, look, I'm back. You want eyes on women's basketball. Caitlin Clark is putting them there. Angel Reese is putting them there more than anyone else in history. And there's a lot of great ballers I'm a big fan of. I love me some Candace Parker. She's always been one of my favorite athletes. Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese do it better than anybody else. That's not a question. That is not a that is not an assumption. That's not a guess. That is a statement of fact. That young lady puts more eyes. Those two young ladies put more eyes on the product than anybody else. And what do we love? Maybe as much as our own teams winning titles. I don't know about you. I kind of love seeing American athletes in international competitions chewing on that gold medal, right? Testing that gold medal. Make sure it's real, right? I love that. I want to see Steph and LeBron clank gold medals together on the stage. I want every event to bring the gold home to the United States, but I specifically love when we beat the world at our sports. Basketball is our sport. Always has been. So this is disheartening to me that we sent over a good team. We sent over a good team. Sent over a team that's it's gonna be very good. There's gonna be very few.
Do you want them to lose?
No,
to prove a point.
No, and I can tell you, you know this though. I will tell you when I do, because I openly rooted against U.S. men's soccer to lose to Uruguay in the CONCACAF, or excuse me, the CONMEBOL. What's the Copa America tournament a couple of weeks ago. I openly on the air rooted for Team USA to lose. Why? Because I said if we lose, we'll move on from Greg Berhalter. If we win this game and make it into the group stage, we will still keep Greg Berhalter through the World Cup. It was the first time I can remember in my lifetime that I rooted against our international team to lose a game. I've rooted against my own team to lose many games, Lonzo, because remember, as we talked about earlier, the hardest thing about being a sports fan is weaving the balance between logic and emotion, right? It's like, I'm emotionally over here. I'm going to wake up on Sunday. I want to win every freaking game. Logically, I'm going, if we lose this game, we go from the 13th draft pick to the 8th. That means there's going to be better players on the board to make the team better down the line. Logically, it makes sense to tank. Emotionally, breaks your heart a little bit. You don't really want to do that, right? Well, this one I'm all emotionally in on, this team winning a gold medal. I know it. You know it. We all know it. You could have set a better team. You could have. You set 41-year-old Diana Taurasi. Having a good year. Still having a good year. Numbers are still up in terms of the average. Lonzo, I know very few of you have. So I'm just going to tell you, instead of asking you, have you watched much Caitlin Clark? I have. She's turned into Caitlin Clark.
I've seen the highlights, but your enthusiasm and overhype has turned me off to where I would never watch unless I was forced to for work.
Why?
Because it's a.
I've talked about Caitlin Clark like twice in the last month.
You also put her in Sports Flash every single day.
She's like one of the most visible athletes in America.
Again. I mean,
is she not?
I according to you, yes.
If Camila Cardoso was putting up numbers like Caitlin Clark, I'd put her in it too.
Okay,
right?
Fine.
Is that unfair? Asia Wilson's been in the Sports Flash many times. Every time she goes out and sets a record. And by the way, Asia Wilson should be the league MVP right now. She is the best women's basketball player on planet Earth today. Power ranking them, Asia Wilson goes at the top. You have read Asia Wilson's name a number of times in the Flash when she goes out there and puts up 40-point, 20-rebound games.
I'm just saying, I think you can overhype something to the point where you go, you know what, I may have given that a chance, but it's being pushed so much that now I can't. And it could just be me, but I don't think it is.
No, it's not. I know a lot of people who are going, I don't care. Stop, Rob. I don't care. It's like every time we bring up Caitlin Clark, I get a text that goes, nobody cares, Rob. Let me tell you what happened yesterday. Yesterday, I walked down to the bar, the Tepper Incident bar, and I watched as two young men got out of the car at the hotel. It's the De La something, like a swanky hotel.
So it's not De La Soul.
No. Like a real swanky. Had like a real deep. It wasn't De La. It had like a real French name to it. All right, the La Freniere Hotel or whatever. And I watched this.
Yeah, that really sounded French.
Oh, that was it. I watched this as I was walking by. These two cats, I would say probably 17, 18-year-old kids, boys, both got out of the car with their Caitlin Clark jerseys on. I'm like, dog, I've never seen that before. I've never seen 18-year-old kids pop out of the car wearing WNBA jerseys in my life. I've never seen it before. Now, is that enough to go see Everybody Cares? No, but what I am going to say is the ratings are up for everything she's connected to. And here's the fun part. For me, Lonzo, even if you ain't watched a Caitlin Clark game, and by the way, she has turned into the Caitlin Clark she got drafted to be. Forget all of that. Forget everything.
How many games have they won?
Caitlin Clark came onto a team that was the worst team in the WNBA.
Listen, I get that she's doing well. I know she struggled early, and she's settled down, and the team is starting to acclimate to the way she plays. I get all that, but how many games have they won?
Less than I'm going to be able to get you to acknowledge is a...
Here's the reason why I'm asking. You get all the hype that she had from college going into WNBA. Will she even be mentioned next year if they don't win? Will it die down?
They are winning because of her.
By anyone other than you.
Yes. Yes. She is one of...
If they stay losing next year like they did this year, then the public will believe that she didn't make a difference and they will forget about her.
The Indiana Fever are currently going into this Olympic break 11-15. They have the third best record in the East and the... what does that put them about? 9th best record out of 23 teams overall. This is a team that was, by a lot, the worst team in the WNBA last year. This is a team that added a player to it, and now this is a team that, despite having a real bad start to the season, is rapidly climbing their way back to 500. If you expect in the NBA let me put it this way. Hey, did Victor Wembanyama save the Spurs? Did they make the playoffs this year? No, they still stink.
Did he have as much hype as?
Oh my
no,
gosh! Yes.
I don't think so.
Okay,
I don't think so. He did have a lot of hype, but I don't think he had that much hype.
I sat down to watch the draft last year. It literally was the Victor Wembanyama show.
Well, yeah.
That's what it was, right? It was the Victor show.
Because there was nobody else, so it had to be.
I disagree with that. There's a lot of good teams last year. A lot of good players last year.
All right, name me a couple.
Swoop, my dog. You had some young kids in the draft, all right? Point here is, if you think that adding a player to a bad team fixes that team, you're bad at sports. That's not how it works, all right? That's not how it works. So, forget all of that. Lonzo, do you want the women to go win the gold medal at the Olympics?
Absolutely. I want every team that represents the USA to win.
So why is Caitlin Clark not on this team? Why is 41-year-old Diana Taurasi going? And why is Caitlin Clark not? Shit. And my favorite thing is that Kate and Angel, I'm on a first-name basis with the girls. They're the best. Kate and Angel and the rest of this squad lit up the Team USA basketball team. And what I hope they won gold. And then I hope that next time the selection committee rolls around for FIBA or the Olympics or whatever, I hope that the selection committee is new. I hope that they get hammered for putting together a team that got whooped by a bunch of girls on that squad that they said weren't good enough. Spectacular. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
Big moment with Rewind on the Odyssey app. Relive big moments. It's Rewind on the
Okay. We'll be right back. Stream, don't go anywhere.
IRS.gov/scholarship/official rules.
Do you owe back taxes or have unfiled tax returns? The IRS won't quit until they get your money. Here's great news, fresh from those in the know. Major changes have happened at the IRS. If you owe more than $10,000, you may be eligible for a 99% reduction of what you owe. Haven't filed a return for a while? Their happy clients are talking.
The IRS was going to levy my bank account, but Guardian was able to prevent that and fix all my IRS issues. Thanks again, Guardian Tax.
Need relief from
some more posers behind you. It's happened a couple times.
It's all about them, personal or business. This is the fresh new brick you've been hoping for.
We aren't the company you call when you need a hug because you're scared of the IRS. Tax is the company that wins when you need.
Guardian, really great to work with. They really helped me out. I'd recommend them highly.
Call now for a free confidential.
So how long is it usually between bands when three bands are playing?
800-505-1608.
At a rock concert.
800-505-1608.
Really, that much? I mean, I get the sets and all that kind of stuff, but still.
My fantasy baseball league. This was 2 years ago because last year's team I know was not good.
30 seconds.
The draft, you got drunk instead. It became a mess because I couldn't communicate because you and I were doing the show. It was just you and me. Here. I told you to, like, when you're up, take it off. I'll talk. I'll be fine. I could do it to you. I would have helped you out. I just would have wanted a percentage of the winnings. That's all. Bet MGM tonight.
Live sports betting updates as they happen. Weeknights at 7
on the Fan Upstate.
Your guide to the gridiron, the maestro of the matchups and the keeper of all things sports world. This is the Rob Brown Show.
Lonzo's here too.
This is the Fan Upstate.
Welcome back to Rob Brown Show. It is the Fan Upstate live in Charlotte, North Carolina. That is where the broadcast emanates from today as we continue coverage of ACC kickoff / media days. Been here all week. It's Tuesday. We've been here all week. It's Tuesday. I mean, it's still accurate.
You're still safe. I mean, yeah.
The Fan Upstate will have coverage of ACC Media Day every day this week. I will remind you that the Great One and I will not be here tomorrow as Lonzo and I have the day off for a previously scheduled engagement, we'll call it. But we will be back on Thursday morning. However, we are not here tomorrow. Cole and Diesel will be. Wire to Wire will broadcast live from Charlotte tomorrow afternoon, 3 to 7 p.m. And then final day of ACC Media Day is Thursday. And the Great One and I will be back with you on Thursday morning for the final day of ACC Media Day as we continue again our live coverage here live in Charlotte, North Carolina. So we've got a lot of stuff that we have talked about so far, a lot of stuff that we have gotten into. We've talked quite a bit of college football. Let's do this because we've got a few more things to get into, but I'd like to talk some ACC ball. I'd like to get into what we expect out of this conference this year. Effectively, the conversation that's been had so far has largely been, is it Clemson or is it Florida State that wins this conference this year? Is it Clemson or is it Florida State? And I'm going to say, honestly, that's the two schools you pick. There is one wild card in this squad. That one wild card is the Miami Hurricanes. That one wild card is a kid by the name of Cam Ward, who has come down to QB for the Canes.
I'm just curious real quick, though. I mean, looking up the record of SMU from last year, and yes, in a different conference, why would you be shocked if SMU didn't rise to the top of the ACC?
I would not, and for a couple of reasons. I don't think the talent is that deep. Okay, they've got a decent offensive line. It's decent. I don't think it's holding up to Florida State's. I don't think it's holding up to Clemson's. But it's a good offensive line. The problem is I think you've got a couple of schools across the ACC that have kind of copied the model from Clemson and Florida State and are building across the front seven of the defense. Their quarterback Preston Stone was on a roll last year until his leg got broken in that game against Navy that ended the year. They did go win the AAC championship against Tulane with Kevin Jennings on as the backup quarterback in that spot. They would go on to lose the Fenway Bowl to Boston College, who, this is true, plays in the ACC. But again, bowl games, don't take anything away from that.
Listen, I'm just looking at this team they play, I guess, is Florida State. They don't play Clemson.
No, they do not. They are looking at Nevada, Houston Christian, BYU, and TCU. BYU is not going to be a bad team. That's not going to be a cake with SMU. But you are correct. September 28th, they are at home. They are at home against Florida State. Then they go to Louisville, to Stanford, to Duke. 3 consecutive road games there. Then Pittsburgh and Boston College come visit. They're on the road at Virginia to take on the Hoos. And then it's back to the house to wrap up the year against Cal. They also play all of the other ACC newcomers, I should say both of the other ACC newcomers this year.
So conceivably, Clemson probably going to lose to Georgia. If they lose another game, SMU only lose to Florida State. Clemson's not playing for the ACC championship. I'm just saying it's a possibility.
It's not, honestly, it's not an unfair breakdown and question to ask. If we go take a look at, I know we've broken down Clemson's schedule 95 different ways to Sunday, but you're looking at Georgia. That's a loss. All right. Sorry, I'll be apparently the only guy in the upstate in the radio to say it. That's a loss.
Hello, I guess I'm
you know what I mean.
No, I don't. Maybe you should explain it to me.
We will be the only ones in the upstate to say it. Clemson's going to lose to Georgia, right? I mean, they're a 2-touchdown dog for a reason. It is what it is. Then you got Appalachian. He's got to go to Tallahassee this year, okay? Florida State's going to be undefeated at that point of the season unless Georgia Tech snipes them in Dublin, Ireland. But Wake Forest at Va-Tech, at Pitt, back home for the Citadel, back home for South Carolina. Florida State, of the schools that we have talked about so far, Alonzo, if I'm looking at the schedule for Florida State, here's how theirs shapes. Georgia Tech in Ireland. Then they've got Boston College, Memphis, and Cal. They are at SMU, back home for Clemson. At Duke, at Miami, back home for North Carolina, at Notre Dame, then Charleston Southern, and Florida at the house. Of these 3 teams, I think Florida State has the toughest schedule between the 3. If I'm keeping it a buck, I think Florida State's got the toughest schedule of the 3. I look at Clemson's schedule, and I'm going, all right, so they've got Georgia Tech in Dublin. Again, am I arguing Georgia Tech's a great team? No, I am not. I'm telling you Brent Key is going to have that team better this year than last year, and I'm telling you that being on the road, over the ocean in Dublin, Ireland, weird things when teams have to go on an adventure like that, all right? So that's a tough one out of the gate. They have got to go to Dallas to play SMU. To Dallas to play SMU, right? Then they've got at Miami. Now, y'all know how I have felt about Mario Cristobal Miami. Y'all know how I feel about the Miami Hurricanes as a whole. The Miami Hurricanes are going to be an okay team. Are they ready to take that? Maybe. But, they've been ready to take that next step for how many consecutive years now, right? They've been ready to take that next step for a couple of years now. I go back to, 2 seasons ago when Miami dropped out of the first 6, when they were expecting, we're back, baby, we're back. The Canes are back. Just win, baby, win, we're back. And then they dropped 4 of their first 5, 4 of their first 6. And that team quit. To me, that team just outright quit. And I don't know if they've gotten rid of that. That just kind of is, I am sorry to say, that just kind of is what that team is. That just kind of is what that culture is. That's just kind of Miami. And they spent so many years taking great pride in that. That's just kind of the mentality they've adapted. However, this team this year, it does kind of feel like I don't know if it feels different, or I don't know if it's just people trying to convince me that it's different this year, but it feels like it's different this year. And if that is the case, that game for Florida State at Miami becomes kind of treacherous in that spot. Then they've got Florida at the end of the year. I don't know how good Florida is going to be. What I do know is Billy Napier's on the question. That's a statement. Billy Napier, this is the year Billy Napier either wins or he's gone, right? So that Florida game might matter a lot to Billy, especially if it's a game where it's like Florida State comes into that game and maybe they got one loss out there. Maybe it's the Clemson. Maybe it's a weird one to Georgia Tech to open up. Maybe it's whoever. They got a weird L on the schedule. In a win for Florida, they make Florida, but it would all dump FS off spot. I think that's a spot where Florida, Billy Napier at the house, despite the fact that Florida's been bad for a minute now, Ben Hill Griffin's still one of the most difficult places to go play and win a college football game in America. That one could end up on him, right? So I think of the three schools we're talking about, Florida State, SMU, and Clemson, I think Florida State's got the most difficult road between them and an ACC title game. I just think Florida State's a better team outright than SMU, which is why I put them in that spot. And I think that SMU first year probably just misses. I think Georgia Tech will have something to say with a couple of these games. I think at the end of the day, we're going to Florida State this year.
I can't wait for you to convince me why Clemson is there, because I don't get it.
I'll tell you what.
They haven't been there last year. They weren't there the year before. Suddenly there this year.
I'll tell you what. Standing directly to my left is a young man by the name of Lawton Swan. I'm going to see if he'll come over here, and let's see if he can convince Lonzo that the Tigers are ACC championship caliber. We'll do that, a little Clemson ball, when we come back on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
Rob Brown Show. Listen on your computer and tablet at thefanupstate.com.
Oh.
I'm Chuck Sanders. Here's the sport.
Why is my internet being a jerk today?
More people there right now or something? Because you keep glitching up.
Yeah. So what happened was
you didn't charge it?
Correct.
Okay.
That is correct. So the battery died, and it switched me over to the ACC's Wi-Fi because I had connected to it yesterday very briefly, and it just turned back on, and then I tried to click back over, and I'm just kind of hoping that it was the back and forth between signals that caused the glitch. But let's see. Am I back on the regular? I am not. That is why. Change my Wi-Fi settings to show available networks. GSP Hot. All right, I am back on the hotspot, so we should be good now.
Only has to last for 20 minutes.
Correct, sir. Let's see. Extra camera. This one is blocked. Ah, there we go. All right, so I can put Lawton on. Sweet. Oh. Yeah, man, come on. Let's do it. Let's talk some Clemson football. Football!
Let me know if we're skipping X.
I will let you know if we are skipping X.
Okay, well,
I'm gonna say possible.
Which is why I asked, because I thought it was possible.
Good call. Good call. That's why you're in charge. That's why you're
Award-winning.
Executive
Let's not
producer.
forget that. Award-winning executive producer.
Award-winning executive producer.
Multiple award-winning, anyway.
Multiple award-winning every year. An
Well-
annually award-winning executive producer.
One minute.
1 minute.
What, are you just going to turn your phone towards him or something? What are you
No,
doing?
I'm gonna turn
Okay, there we go.
camera around.
There we go, because,
Sit right there. We're gonna get the in profile view. And then watch this. Watch this. Boom! I'm still here. What up?
look at that. And you put yourself in the middle where you need to be, where the star
That
goes.
down so we fill the appropriate
Oh,
boxes. Look at that.
He's just so good. 30 seconds.
Oh yeah, I guess we got to give you some sound. Give me a mic check real quick.
Check. 1, 2, 1, 2. Hello.
Volume good. Need more? Need less?
Yeah, you can turn me down a lot.
Down a lot.
Yeah, there you go.
Good there.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
All right, here we go.
Birds get the sports scoop. The Rob Brown Show, now morning 6 to 10.
On the Fan Upstate.
So as we were going out to break there a mere moments ago, Lonzo said, Rob, you got to talk me into why I should say Clemson goes to the ACC championship game. He said, and what I think is an interesting take, that there's a chance that SMU can end up to the spot. And for the record, I don't think he's wrong. I think SMU is going to be an interesting team, but I'm not going to be the one that's going to try to talk Lonzo into this. I'm going to welcome from Clemson Sports Talk, friend on and off the air, Lawton Swan joins us. What's up, big dog?
Guys, I'm doing good, man. Good to see y'all.
Yeah, good to be seen.
Well, at least it's a seeing you, Rob.
Well, yeah, that's true.
I'm imagining, Lonzo.
He's
right
as
now.
handsome as he's ever been.
Always.
Yeah, for sure. Here's what I'm going to do. I am going to open up the floor to you, Lawton Swan. I'm going to give you 2 minutes. The case for Clemson, because I've said Florida State, Clemson playing twice this year. Once in the regular season, once in the ACC championship. The case for Clemson to make the title game is blank.
I think the defense is going to be the key for this team, obviously, Rob. And I think when you kind of look at, maybe where Clemson's bread was buttered during their incredible stretch, it was really off the backs of Brent Venables in that defense. And now you look at Wes Goodwin taking over. I think certainly when he first came in, there were big questions about whether or not he would be able, to be up to the task, right? Like he's a unique guy because not a lot of people really knew a lot about him. But then the more you started digging in and talking, going to his roots at Mississippi State and seeing what he'd done in the NFL, you go, okay, maybe this guy can be successful. So I think they're going to be one of, if not the most talented defenses in the league. And I think if you've got a great defense, you give yourself opportunities. What it comes down to outside of that, in my opinion, is I've kind of labeled Cade Klubnik as an energetic. I wrote an article about him the other day on the website. I called him an energetic but erratic playmaker.
Somebody last year said he has golden retriever energy.
And it can work, right? I heard somebody talking the other day. They said, I think he kind of comps to like a Johnny Manziel, like
Sure.
the way he looks. And then I think back to watching Johnny Manziel play at Texas A&M, and I can see that. What he can't do this year that he did a year ago is when Clemson has points in their back pocket, turn the ball over, make trying to make a play turn into a disaster. And I think if he doesn't do that, I think Phil Maffa being the kind of lead dog is good for this team too. But I think defensively, and I think the fact that now you're not in a division structure, I think the open division helps because if you were to go to Florida State and lose, you can still finish second in the league and get to the ACC championship. I think with the backs of the defense, an improved playmaker in Cade Klubnik, and then, of course, Phil Maffa toting the load. I think that's your argument. And I don't think anybody's going to say, oh, well, do you think the wide receivers are going to be better? I would make the argument, how could they be
worse?
Less significant? I didn't want to say worse.
Fair enough.
How could
Fair
they
enough.
be less significant to this offense than they have been the past couple of seasons?
Lonzo?
All right. Here's the thing. He's right about the defense. The defense has been good. When Venables left, there was a chance that, and I think there was a little bit of a drop-off, but then it picked back up for sure last year. But the key is, and you've already addressed it, is Cade Klubnik. Last year we were told he's improved. Did he? He may have improved a little bit, but the turnovers are definitely a problem. And when someone gets labeled that, those defenses are coming after you even more so when they know that you cannot keep a hold of the ball. And I am just curious with the new teams coming into the ACC, will Clemson take them lightly and think, oh, yeah, these guys, they're not really that good? And will they get shocked or surprised? And it just seems like automatically they're being put into number 1 or number 2, and they haven't been that the last couple of years, and it really comes down to Cade Klubnik. And I'm not convinced yet.
Well, and so, I don't have every team's schedule in my head, so I think sometimes when we look at where a team could finish, like I do know there's belief in Louisville this year, kind of like there was a year ago based off of their schedule. But from the standpoint of Clemson, they don't have to play SMU this year. They get to play Stanford. So SMU doesn't become necessarily a hurdle for Clemson in the regular season. I think that, Florida State is also interesting for a couple of reasons. One, I've questioned, and I know their fans would hate this, I've kind of questioned their culture ever since what happened in the Orange Bowl, because we could talk about whether or not they should have been in the playoff, this, that, and the other. But you cannot convince me if that same scenario played out for Clemson that the Tigers would have rolled down there and gotten rolled over by Georgia 63-3 with all the opt-outs. Now, maybe they would. Maybe they would. But the team I've covered for 20 years, that doesn't feel like what they would have done in that scenario. So I kind of wonder what Florida State is. They've utilized the transfer portal. They're going to have to replace a ton of starters. I think they had 14 guys or something on that team.
And you had what, two? So you had a first-round draft pick, you had a third-round draft pick, you had a quarterback that got drafted, you had a running back that got drafted. They were loaded. And listen, I'm not going to sit here and tell you Florida State hasn't brought some stuff back through the portal this year. And obviously you're going to know the guy who tried to replace Jordan Travis better than anybody, DJ Uiagalelei. Question mark for me was, and I'll say this about Florida State, I think it's very similar to Clemson in that they're gonna have to be a team that's carried on defense, and they were last year. To me, the snub of Florida State had nothing to do with the offense. It's the fact that was a top 7 defense nationally that never got a chance to go try to carry the team through, right? But the big question is defense, and it's DJ Uiagalelei, and the argument I've made for him was my man had I don't care what you say, 1,000 pounds of pressure per square inch on him at Clemson when he took that job, right? We all agree on that. It didn't go well. So he leaves. He transfers up to Oregon State. There's no pressure on him with the Beavers. None. They didn't have national championship aspirations. They didn't have Pac-12 conference champions aspirations. They just needed a guy. So he got to play a year of ball with really no pressure on him to actually develop without, him being labeled the golden child. Now he comes to Tallahassee, and he's got both. He's got pressure on him, but he's also had a year to develop and learn and sharpen his game. To me,
but his numbers weren't significantly better.
They weren't.
The
talent around him and that he was playing against weren't necessarily on the same level either.
That was the next. Yeah, that was kind of the next point I was going to make. And so, but if we just look at Clemson's schedule and you talk about the defense, they can still lose to Georgia. That game doesn't preclude you from playing in the ACC championship, and you can still lose in Tallahassee, and that doesn't preclude you. And I think honestly, a lot of Clemson people. And I don't know how many of them say this openly, but I think a lot of Clemson people, when they found out that DJ was the quarterback at Florida State, they were like, okay, great. Yeah, let's have at it.
Yeah.
And then even being here in Charlotte and talking to some people, there's the belief that maybe DJ doesn't even end up being the guy for Florida State this year. And so from that standpoint, I think you have to say that as well as any of these 17 flags that we see in this venue, Clemson has a chance to finish number 1 or number 2 in the ACC as high as anybody. And that would put you in the ACC championship.
Yeah.
You're not, if you were behind Florida State 2 years ago, you were out.
Lawton Swan from Clemson Sports Talk joining us here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. It was pointed out in the open house last Tuesday by Dabo Swinney, Lawton. He said, if you look at last year, he said, we're like 3 fumbles away from 12-1. And he's not wrong, right? Of the losses, you got smoked. You got smoked by Duke. Every other loss was a 1-score loss, right? 8 points, but still a 1-score loss technically. Now, I think that is the most silver lining, optimistic way to have looked at it, but technically he's not wrong. Dabo went on and said, listen, and he kind of hammered it this way. We're 3 plays away from being 12-1. We're 3 plays away from being in the playoff. And I'm going, yeah, but that kind of seems to be the trend the last
I'm
couple
about
of years.
3 zeros away from being a millionaire. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like that just doesn't play all that well for a fan base. And look, 9-4, 5-0 run at the end of the season. They have one of the longest winning streaks in the country coming into this year. I commend to give them credit for that, right? And I think you have to. And you have to give them credit for the sustained success. But how many games, if we go back through the years, in fairness to Clemson, are you a fumble away from losing the game? And how many times did that turn into an opportunity where you won a game? And so from that standpoint, I think it kind of goes both ways. I don't get too caught up in all that. I think the thing that maybe as somebody who's covered them as long as I have, that I kind of just, what's the trend when the going gets tough for the team? You know, what do they do when all the chips have to be on the table? I would be comfortable with Deshaun Watson leading the team. That's why I thought it was big, that final drive, not to lose the train of thought of, you know, even watching Kelly Bryant and watching Trevor Lawrence. But I thought that final drive against Kentucky was huge because that was the chips are on the table, Kay Klubnik. What are you going to do in this bowl game, the final hurrah? Because if that final drive falls flat, I think we're having a different conversation about the way things feel. So in that moment, he looked like the guy that you want him to look like. He was making plays that he needed to make. And so I think that was a big moment for him. I don't know if it was a big step, but it was a big moment.
Season record prediction.
Well, I've been on this train. I think looking at their schedule, any result less than 10-2, I think Clemson fans have a right to go, what did we do wrong? And I think anything better than that, you should be happy about. I don't think Clemson's going to beat Georgia in the opener. Maybe I shift my narrative as we get closer. Maybe somebody gets injured in Athens, and I go, oh, that changes the narrative.
I don't know.
Or arrested.
There it is.
It could happen.
There it is.
Yeah.
You never know.
Georgia might be 1 to 2 miles an hour away from being in a championship game this year.
You never know what's going to happen. But I think that game in my brain is about 11 points, 35-24. Could Georgia put another score on the board? Maybe. But I think you'll know pretty quick. Is Clemson, you know, and I do think Clemson's got this advantage. Not a lot of people are going to buy into them going into that game.
No.
So, you know, swing for the fences.
If there was ever a spot where you can come out and pull all the stops, no holds barred, everything goes, like that's the game. But, you know, and again, Dabo said this too. You get caught up, and I do think the mental attitude of this team is going to get called into question quickly, especially if Georgia does end up walking the dog on them, because that Appy State team, they've been living on the memories of Ann Arbor, Michigan for about 14 years now. They're ready for one more of those on-the-road Power 5, Power 4 upsets. It's going to be telling what happens August 31st and how Clemson bounces back September 7th. And honestly, I think that Appy State game, because you go into ACC play immediately after that, that's going to be a big one about what the identity of this football team is.
Yeah, I would say this too, looking at that Clemson-Georgia game. I also want to make sure that people understand on Georgia's schedule, you know, where they go to Alabama, they go to, Alabama and Texas, I think, right? Yep. I think that's one of the scenarios where Clemson's one of the teams on their schedule that can beat them. And I think that's an important distinction. There aren't a boatload of teams on their schedule, in my opinion, that can beat them. But I think Clemson is one. And that's the positive about what this Clemson Tiger team is. You're good enough to beat a team that most people are going to presume is going to be one of the top 5 teams in the country. The question is, can you maintain that? Was I right on their schedule?
Yeah.
Okay.
They are at Alabama, they are at Texas, and they are at Ole Miss.
Yeah, and I think that those 2 games, the Alabama and the Texas one, will tell a lot of the story for Georgia. But Clemson's one of those teams on that schedule, because it's a neutral site game in Atlanta, that can beat them. And I think that's also a significant point for Tiger fans to carry into that game.
Lawton Swan is from Clemson Sports Talk, was kind enough to have me on his show yesterday. I'm having him on mine today, and we are doing this more often. I don't care what you say.
Look at we
matched it, everything. Right, the blue and white. Yeah, I got to tell you, man, it looks good. Thanks for coming by, brother. Good to see you. Absolutely. Lawton Swan from Clemson Sports Talk, and that concludes our day, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to go talk to Pat Narduzzi from Pitt here in just a couple of minutes. Got player interviews throughout the day. I'll be going live on and off, as well as tweeting and Facebooking, whatever else you young kids do nowadays throughout the rest of the day. And then Lonzo and I, we're going to see Creed tonight, Lonzo.
I know, right?
Throw him up, bud.
And Switchfoot. I'm looking forward to Switchfoot.
I actually am looking forward to Switchfoot.
If I'm able to get it, I'm guessing they're going off first, and if I'm able to park in time to watch them.
I'm willing to bet Switchfoot's in the middle.
I hope so. I mean, that would be great. But I don't know how, in the hierarchy of rock music, I don't know how that works. So
we're going to find out, because we will be there today. That's going to do it for us, ladies and gentlemen. Again, make sure I'm just going to leave two of me up on the screen for the rest of the show. Make sure you follow me on social media at The Rob Brown Show. I'll be off and on throughout the rest of the day. I am off tomorrow. Alonzo's off tomorrow. Diesel and Cole will be with you this afternoon. They will be here tomorrow afternoon, and then we'll be back with you on Thursday morning to wrap up ACC Media Days. Thanks to everybody here from the ACC helping us put it on. For Lonzo, I'm Rob. Have a lovely rest of your Thursday. We'll see you back here on, rest of your Tuesday. I'm checking out already. Can you tell? Checking out already. We'll see you back here on Thursday for the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate later. Yeah.
Join us for passionate sports talk that's sure to
That did not go over well.
This is the Rob Brown Show on the
Good.
Fan Update.
It's an unlikely combination.
I don't think they're going to beat you up. You're all right.
Try it.
Hey, you never know. There's some big boys over here broadcasting.
See how quiet it's going to be there tomorrow.
Downtown Greenville. It's an evening of sampling bourbons and whiskeys.
Oh, wait. No, I don't want to remove you. I need you back.
No, I mean, you can remove that. That's fine. Yeah, you can do that.
All right. I got to go get everything set up and ready. I got our music coming up in like an hour, and then I am on to the next stage of my life.
Why not fire up a fine
Stage.
cigar while you're at it?
Exactly.
Bacon,
In front.
cigars, and even
Rock and
some
roll.
sweet treats to
Dude.
cap it off.
I can't do that thing. My fingers don't work anymore.
Yeah.
Still
Still got it, baby.
Plus, it'd be too close to sign of the devil. That's hang loose. I can hang loose.
No, that's
Hang
hang
loose. This is hang loose. That's what that's what you were doing. Oh, I'm not doing sign of the devil.
I don't know what that is. Not sign of the devil. That's just rock and roll, dude.
It's sign of the devil, dude.
Since when?
Visit Bourbon and Bacon Fest.
Now, if you want to go too sweet, that's different. But as soon as you, that's devil horns. That's what that is.
Possible to lose weight on your own. Hi,
Are you looking up sign of the devil?
Yeah, I want to know where it came from. Like, I'm not saying it's not that. I just want to know, like,
long term without drugs or surgery. At New Life Weight Loss, many patients lose 20 to 30 pounds in about a month or two.
Similar
with our
hand
support
gesture
staff and
comes from
accountability. And we do that without
ancient
prepackaged
China
meals, no
and
exercising,
India.
no drugs, or surgery.
In Indian
Go to
classical dance form, it symbolizes
mynewifeweightloss.com
a lion.
One of my favorite things is collecting sports
In
jerseys
Italy and
from
other
different teams that
Mediterranean
I've been
cultures, where when
around,
confronted with
worked with, or that
unfortunate
I
events,
love,
or simply when those events are mentioned,
thanks
the
to
sign of
New
the
Life
horns
Weight
may
Loss,
given
I
to
have been
ward
able to
off
reach way
further
back into the
bad
closet
luck.
and
It is
wear
traditionally to
jerseys
counter
I've been
ward off
collecting
the
since
evil eye.
college.
To learn about our program,
So
go to
in multiple cultures, this is
mynewifeweightloss.com
actually a
and schedule
good
your
luck
free
thing.
consultation. Our expert team will discuss your health goals, help determine the root causes of your weight issues.
In some
and put
Latin
you on a
American
path to
countries,
success.
including
Call
Colombia, Greece, Italy, Portugal, Spain, and Mexico, when directed towards someone pointed upwards, and then swiveled back and
That's
forth like this.
mynewifeweightloss.com. It's bow time.
It's an offensive.
You might be conjuring a demon right now. You should be careful.
I don't believe in demons, so I'm in the clear.
People may think you are one after you yelled, "Yeah."
Yeah, I did aggressively go for that one. That's not wrong. All right, let me go get set up for these interviews.
All right, I might see you tonight.
You will
see
see me. I just don't know what I will be seeing tonight.
Oh, there we go. All right.
Two of some things.
Yeah, I'm guessing you're a hugger, so I will not be around you.
I'm coming to see Pappy. All right. See you, stream. Goodbye.